रूप देने का अधिकार स्वयं को अर्पित किया। अनेक लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्थाओं में जेंडर, रिलीजन तथा अन्य आधारों पर लोगों के मताधिकार पर पाबंदियां होती थी, परंतु हमने ऐसा नहीं किया। चुनौतियों के बावजूद भारत के लोगों ने लोकतंत्र को सफलतापूर्वक अपनाया। लोकतंत्र को अपनाना हमारी प्राचीन लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों की सहज अभिव्यक्ति थी। भारत भूमि विश्व के प्राचीनतम गणराज्यों की धरती रही है। इसे लोकतंत्र की जननी कहना सर्वथा उचित है। हमारे द्वारा अपनाए गए संविधान की आधारशिला पर हमारी लोकतंत्र का भवन निर्मित हुआ है। हमने लोकतंत्र पर आधारित ऐसी संस्थाओं का निर्माण किया जिनसे लोकतांत्रिक कार्यशैली को मजबूती मिली। हमारे लिए हमारा संविधान और हमारे लोकतंत्र सर्वोपरि है। अतीत पर दृष्टिपात करते हुए हमें देश के विभाजन से हुई पीड़ा को कदापि नहीं भूलना चाहिए। आज हमने विभाजन विभीषिका स्मृति दिवस मनाया। विभाजन के कारण भयावह हिंसा देखी गई और लाखों लोग विस्थापित होने के लिए मजबूर किए गए। आज हम इतिहास की गलतियों के शिकार हुए लोगों को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करते हैं। प्यारे देशवासियों, हमारे संविधान में ऐसे 4 मूल्यों का उल्लेख है जो हमारे लोकतंत्र को सुदृढ़ बनाए रखने वाले 4 स्तंभ हैं। ये मूल्य हैं न्याय, स्वतंत्रता, समता और बंधुता। ये हमारी सभ्यता के ऐसे सिद्धांत हैं जिन्हें हमने स्वाधीनता संग्राम के दौरान पुनः जीवंत बनाया है। मेरा मानना है कि इन सभी मूल्यों के मूल में व्यक्ति की गरिमा की अवधारणा विद्यमान है। प्रत्येक व्यक्ति समान है और सभी को ये अधिकार है कि उनके साथ गरिमापूर्ण व्यवहार हो। स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं और शिक्षा सुविधाओं तक सभी की समान पहुंच होने चाहिए। सभी को समान अवसर मिलने चाहिए। जो लोग पारंपरिक व्यवस्था के कारण वंचित रह गए थे, उन्हें मदद की जरूरत थी। इन सिद्धांतों को सर्वोपरि रखते हुए हमने 1947 में एक नई यात्रा शुरू की। विदेशी हुकूमत की लंबी अवधि के बाद स्वाधीनता के समय भारत घोर गरीबी से जूझ रहा था, लेकिन तब से अब तक के 78 वर्षों में हमने सभी क्षेत्रों में असाधारण प्रगति की है। भारत ने आत्मनिर्भर राष्ट्र बनने के मार्ग पर काफी दूरी तय कर ली है और प्रबल आत्मविश्वास के साथ आगे बढ़ता जा रहा है। आर्थिक क्षेत्र में हमारी उपलब्धियां साफ साफ देखी जा सकती है। पिछले वित्त वर्ष में 6.5% की सकल घरेलू उत्पाद वृद्धि दर के साथ भारत दुनिया की प्रमुख अर्थव्यवस्था में सबसे तेजी से बढ़ने वाले देश है। वैश्विक अर्थव्यवस्था में व्याप्त समस्याओं के बावजूद घरेलू मांग में तेजी से वृद्धि हो रही है। मुद्रास्फीति पर नियंत्रण बना हुआ है, निर्यात बढ़ रहा है। सभी प्रमुख संकेतक अर्थव्यवस्था की मजबूत स्थिति को दर्शा रहे हैं। ये हमारे श्रमिक और किसान भाई बहनों की कड़ी मेहनत और समर्पण के साथ साथ सुविचारित सुधारों और कुशल आर्थिक प्रबंधन का भी परिणाम है। सुशासन के माध्यम से बड़ी संख्या में लोगों को गरीबी से बाहर निकाला गया है। सरकार गरीबों के लिए अनेक कल्याणकारी योजनाएं चला रही है। जो लोग गरीबी रेखा से ऊपर तो आ गए हैं लेकिन मजबूत स्थिति में नहीं है, उनको भी ऐसे योजनाओं की सुरक्षा उपलब्ध है ताकि वे फिर से गरीबी रेखा से नीचे ना चले जाए। ये कल्याणकारी प्रयास सामाजिक सेवाओं पर बढ़ते खर्च में परिलक्षित होते हैं। आय की असमानता कम हो रही है। क्षेत्रीय असमानताएं भी कम हो रही है। जो राज्यों और क्षेत्र पहले कमजोर आर्थिक प्रदर्शन के लिए जाने जाते थे, वे अब अपनी वास्तविक क्षमता प्रदर्शित कर रहे हैं और अग्रणी राज्य के साथ बराबरी करने की दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। हमारे अग्रणी व्यवसायियों, लघु एवं मध्यम उद्यमियों और व्यापारियों ने हमेशा कुछ कर गुजरने की भावना का परिचय दिया है। समृद्धि के सृजन के मार्ग में आने वाली रुकावटों को दूर करने की आवश्यकता थी। पिछले एक दशक के दौरान बुनियादी ढांचे में हुए विकास में ये स्पष्ट रूप से दिखाई देता है। हमने भारतमाला परियोजना के तहत राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग नेटवर्क का विस्तार और सुदृढ़ीकरण किया है। रेलवे ने भी नवाचार को प्रोत्साहन दिया है तथा नवीनतम टेक्नोलॉजी से युक्त नई तरह की रेलगाड़ियों और डिब्बे का उपयोग किया जाने लगा है। कश्मीर घाटी में रेल संपर्क का शुभारंभ करना एक प्रमुख उपलब्धि है। शेष भारत के साथ घाटी का रेल संपर्क उस क्षेत्र में व्यापार और पर्यटन को बढ़ावा देगा और नई आर्थिक संभावनाओं के द्वार खोलेगा। कश्मीर में इंजीनियरिंग के ये असाधारण उपलब्धि हमारे देश के लिए एक ऐतिहासिक माइलस्टोन है। देश में शहरीकरण तेज गति से हो रहा है, इसलिए शहरों की स्थिति सुधारने पर सरकार विशेष ध्यान दे रही है। शहरी परिवहन के प्रमुख क्षेत्रों पर विशेष ध्यान देते हुए सरकार ने मेट्रो रेल सुविधाओं का विस्तार किया है। पिछले एक दशक के दौरान मेट्रो रेल सेवा की सुविधा से युक्त शहरों की संख्या कई गुना बढ़ गई है। शहरों के कायाकल्प और शहरी परिवर्तन के लिए अटल मिशन यानी अमृत ने ये सुनिश्चित किया है कि अधिक से अधिक घरों में नल से पानी की भरोसेमंद आपूर्ति हो और स्टोरेज कनेक्शन सुविधा उपलब्ध हो। सरकार ये मानती है कि जीवन की बुनियादी सुविधाओं पर नागरिकों का हक बनता है। जल जीवन मिशन के तहत ग्रामीण घरों में नल से जल पहुंचाने में प्रगति हो रही है। अपने तरह के विश्व की सबसे बड़ी स्वास्थ्य सेवा योजना आयुष्मान भारत के अंतर्गत विभिन्न कदम उठाए गए हैं। उन प्रयासों के परिणाम स्वरूप स्वास्थ्य सेवा के क्षेत्र में हम क्रांतिकारी बदलाव देख रहे हैं। इस योजना के तहत अब तक 55 करोड़ से अधिक लोगों को सुरक्षा कवच प्रदान किया जा चुका है। सरकार ने 70 वर्ष और उससे अधिक आयु के सभी वरिष्ठ नागरिकों को इस योजना की सुविधा उपलब्ध करा दी है, चाहे उनकी आय कितना भी हो। स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं तक पहुंच से जुड़ी असमानताएं दूर होने से गरीब और निम्न मध्यम वर्गों के लोगों को भी सर्वोत्तम संभव स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं उपलब्ध हो रही है। इस डिजिटल युग में ये स्वाभाविक है कि भारत में सबसे अधिक प्रगति सूचना प्रौद्योगिकी क्षेत्र में हुई है। लगभग सभी गांव में 4G मोबाइल कनेक्टिविटी उपलब्ध है। शेष कुछ हजार गांव में भी ये सुविधा शीघ्र ही पहुंचा दी जाएगी। इससे डिजिटल भुगतान तकनीकी को बड़े पैमाने पर अपनाना संभव हो पाया है। डिजिटल भुगतान के क्षेत्र में भारत कम समय में ही विश्व का अग्रणी देश बन गया है। इससे डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर को भी बढ़ावा मिला है तथा लक्षित लाभार्थियों तक कल्याणकारी भुगतान बिना किसी रुकावट और लीकेज के पहुंचना सुनिश्चित हो रहा है। दुनिया में होने वाले कुल डिजिटल लेन देन में से आधे से अधिक लेन देन भारत में होते हैं। ऐसे बदलाव से एक गतिमान डिजिटल अर्थव्यवस्था का निर्माण किया गया है, जिसका योगदान देश के सकल घरेलू उत्पाद में साल दर साल बढ़ रहा है। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट का अगला चरण है जो हमारे जीवन में अपना स्थान बना चुका है। सरकार ने देश के AI क्षमताओं को मजबूत करने के लिए इंडिया AI मिशन शुरू किया है। इस मिशन के तहत ऐसे मॉडल विकसित किए जाएंगे जो भारत की विशिष्ट आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करेंगे। हमारी आकांक्षा है कि वर्ष 2047 तक भारत एक ग्लोबल AI हब बन जाए। इस दिशा में सामान्य लोगों के लिए तकनीकी प्रगति का सर्वोत्तम उपयोग और प्रशासन व्यवस्था में सुधार करके उनके जीवन को बेहतर बनाने पर विशेष ध्यान दिया जाएगा। जनसामान्य के जीवन को बेहतर बनाने के लिए कारोबार को आसान बनाने के साथ साथ जीवन को आसान बनाने पर भी समान बल दिया जा रहा है। विकास तभी सार्थक होता है जब हाशिए पर के लोगों तक सहायता पहुँचे और उनके लिए नए अवसर उपलब्ध हो। इसके अलावा हम हर संभव क्षेत्रों में अपनी आत्मनिर्भरता बढ़ा रहे हैं। इससे हमारा आत्मविश्वास बढ़ा है और विकसित भारत बनने की हमारी यात्रा की रफ्तार तेज हुई है। पिछले सप्ताह 7 अगस्त को देश में राष्ट्रीय हथकरघा दिवस मनाया गया। इस दिवस को मनाने का उद्देश्य हमारे बुनकरों और उनके उत्पादों का सम्मान करना है। हमारे स्वाधीनता संग्राम के दौरान 1905 में शुरू किए गए स्वदेशी आंदोलन की स्मृति में वर्ष 2015 से ये दिवस हर साल मनाया जाता है। महात्मा गांधी ने भारतीय कारीगरों और शिल्पकारों के खून पसीनों से निर्मित और उनके अतुलनीय कौशल से युक्त उत्पादों को बढ़ावा देने के लिए स्वदेशी की भावना को और मजबूत किया था। स्वदेशी का विचार मेक इन इंडिया और आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान जैसे राष्ट्रीय प्रयासों को प्रेरित करता रहा है। हम सबको ये संकल्प लेना है कि हम अपने देश में बने उत्पादों को खरीदेंगे और उनका उपयोग करेंगे। प्यारे देशवासियों, सामाजिक क्षेत्र में किए गए प्रयासों से संवर्धित समग्र आर्थिक विकास के बल पर भारत 2047 तक एक विकसित अर्थव्यवस्था बनने के मार्ग पर अग्रसर है। मैं समझती हूँ कि अमृत काल के इस दौर में आगे बढ़ते जाने की राष्ट्रीय यात्रा में सभी देशवासी यथाशक्ति अपना सर्वाधिक योगदान देंगे। मेरा मानना है कि समाज के 3 ऐसे वर्ग हैं जो हमें प्रगति के इस मार्ग पर आगे बढ़ाएंगे। ये 3 वर्ग है हमारे युवा, महिलाएं और वे समुदाय जो लंबे समय से हाशिए पर रहे हैं। अंततः हमारे युवाओं को अपने सपनों को साकार करने के लिए अनुकूल परिस्थितियां मिल गई है। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के माध्यम से दूरगामी बदलाव किए गए हैं। शिक्षा को जीवन मूल्यों से तथा कौशल को परंपरा के साथ जोड़ा गया है। रोजगार के अवसर तेजी से बढ़ रहे हैं। उद्यमिता की आकांक्षा रखने वाले लोगों के लिए सरकार ने सर्वाधिक अनुकूल वातावरण उपलब्ध कराए हैं। युवा प्रतिभाओं की ऊर्जा से शक्ति प्राप्त करके हमारे आंतरिक कार्यक्रम का अभूतपूर्व विस्तार हुआ है। मुझे विश्वास है कि शुभांशु शुक्ला की इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन की यात्रा ने एक पूरी पीढ़ी को ऊंचे सपने देखने की प्रेरणा दी है। ये अंतरिक्ष यात्रा भारत के आगामी मानव अंतरिक्ष उड़ान कार्यक्रम गगनयान के लिए अत्यंत सहायक सिद्ध होगी। नए आत्मविश्वास से भरपूर हमारे युवा खेल जगत में अपनी पहचान बना रहे हैं। उदाहरण के लिए शतरंज में आप भारत के युवाओं का जैसा वर्चस्व है वैसा पहले कभी नहीं था। राष्ट्रीय खेल नीति 2025 में निहित विजन के अनुरूप हम ऐसे आमूल बदलाव की परिकल्पना कर रहे हैं जिसके बल पर भारत एक वैश्विक खेल महाशक्ति के रूप में उभरेगा। हमारी बेटियां हमारे गौरव हैं। वे प्रतिरक्षा और सुरक्षा सहित हर क्षेत्र में अवरोधों को पार करके आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। खेलकूद को उत्कृष्टता, सशक्तिकरण और क्षमताओं का महत्वपूर्ण संकेतक माना जाता है। विश्व शतरंज चैंपियनशिप के लिए फीडे महिला विश्व कप का फाइनल मैच 19 वर्षों के भारत की एक बेटी और 38 वर्षों की एक भारतीय महिला के बीच खेला गया। ये उपलब्धि पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी हमारी महिलाओं में विद्यमान विश्व स्तर की सतत उत्कृष्टता को रेखांकित करती है। रोजगार में भी जेंडर गैप कम हो रहा। नारी शक्ति बंधन अधिनियम से महिला सशक्तिकरण अब केवल एक नारा ना रहकर यथार्थ बन गया है। हमारे समाज का एक बड़ा हिस्सा अनुसूचित जाति, अनुसूचित जनजाति, पिछड़ा वर्ग और अन्य समुदायों के लोगों का है। इन समुदायों के लोग अब हाशिए पर होने का टैग हटा रहे हैं। उनकी सामाजिक और आर्थिक आकांक्षाओं को साकार करने के लिए सक्रिय प्रयासों के माध्यम से सरकार उनकी सहायता करती आ रही है। अपनी वास्तविक क्षमता को हासिल करने की दिशा में भारत अब और अधिक तेज गति से आगे बढ़ रहा है। हमारे सुधारों और नीतियों से विकास का एक प्रभावी मंच तैयार हुआ है। इस तैयारी के बल पर मैं एक ऐसे उज्जवल भविष्य को देख पा रही हूँ जहाँ हम सब अपनी सामूहिक समृद्धि और खुशहाली में उत्साहपूर्वक योगदान दे रहे होंगे। उस भविष्य की ओर हम भ्रष्टाचार के प्रति जीरो टॉलरेंस रखते हुए अनवरत सुशासन के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। इस संदर्भ में मुझे महात्मा गांधी की एक महत्वपूर्ण बात याद आ रही है। गांधी जी ने बताया था और मैं दोहराती हूँ, भ्रष्टाचार और दंभ लोकतंत्र के अनिवार्य परिणाम नहीं होने चाहिए। हम सब ये संकल्प ले कि गांधी जी के इस आदर्श को कार्य रूप देंगे और भ्रष्टाचार को समूल नष्ट करेंगे। प्यारे देशवासियों, इस वर्ष हमें आतंकवाद का दंश झेलना पड़ा। कश्मीर घूमने गए निर्दोष नागरिकों की हत्या कायरतापूर्ण और नितांत अमानवीय थी। इसका जवाब भारत ने फौलादी संकल्प के साथ निर्णायक तरीके से दिया। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने ये दिखा दिया कि जब राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा का प्रश्न सामने आता है तो हमारे सशस्त्र बल किसी भी स्थिति का सामना करने के लिए पूरी तरह सक्षम सिद्ध होते हैं। रणनीतिक स्पष्टता और तकनीकी दक्षता के साथ हमारी सेना ने सीमा पार के आतंकवादी ठिकानों को नष्ट कर दिया। मेरा विश्वास है कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध मानवता की लड़ाई में एक मिसाल के तौर पर इतिहास में दर्ज होगा। हमारी एकता ही हमारी जवाबी कार्रवाई की सबसे बड़ी विशेषता थी। यही एकता उन सभी तत्वों के लिए सबसे करारा जवाब भी है जो हमें विभाजित देखना चाहते हैं। भारत के दृष्टिकोण को स्पष्ट करने के लिए विभिन्न देशों में गए संसद सदस्यों के बहुदलीय प्रतिनिधि मंडलों में भी हमारी यही एकता दिखाई दी। विश्व समुदाय ने भारत की इस नीति का संज्ञान लिया है कि हम आक्रमणकारी तो नहीं बनेंगे, लेकिन अपने नागरिकों की रक्षा के लिए जवाबी कार्रवाई करने में तनिक भी संकोच नहीं करेंगे। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर प्रतिरक्षा के क्षेत्र में आत्मनिर्भर भारत मिशन की परीक्षा का भी अवसर था। अब ये सिद्ध हो गया है कि हम सही रास्ते पर हैं। हमारा स्वदेशी विनिर्माण उस निर्णायक स्तर पर पहुंच गया है जहां हम अपनी बहुत सी सुरक्षा आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने में भी आत्मनिर्भर बन गए हैं। ये उपलब्धियां स्वाधीन भारत के रक्षा इतिहास में एक नए अध्याय का सूत्रपात है। प्यारे देशवासियों, इस अवसर पर मैं आप सभी से ये आग्रह करना चाहती हूँ कि पर्यावरण की रक्षा के लिए आप सब हर संभव प्रयास करें। जलवायु परिवर्तन की चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए हमें अपने आप में भी कुछ परिवर्तन करने होंगे। हमें अपनी आदतें और अपनी विश्व दृष्टि में बदलाव लाना होगा। हमें अपनी धरती, नदियाँ, पहाड़ों, पेड़ पौधे और जीव जंतुओं के साथ अपने संबंधों में भी परिवर्तन करना होगा। हम सब अपने योगदान से एक ऐसे पृथ्वी छोड़कर जाएं जहां जीवन अपने नैसर्गिक रूप में फलता फूलता रहे। प्यारे देशवासियों, हमारी सीमाओं की रक्षा करने वाले सैनिकों, पुलिस तथा केंद्रीय सशस्त्र पुलिस बलों की ओर मेरा ध्यान विशेष रूप से जाता है। मैं न्यायपालिका और सिविल सर्विसेज के सदस्यों को भी अपनी शुभकामनाएं व्यक्त करती हूँ। विदेशों में स्थित भारतीय दूतावासों में कार्यरत भारतीय अधिकारियों और प्रवासी भारतीयों को भी मेरी ओर से स्वाधीनता दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। मैं एक बार फिर आप सभी को स्वाधीनता दिवस की बधाई देती हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका दे।
Old and young from all parts of the country yearned to throw away the yoke of foreign rule. Their struggle was marked by robust optimism, which has continued to propel our progress since independence too. As we salute the tricolor tomorrow, we will also be paying homage to the memory of all freedom fighters whose sacrifices on India independence on the 15th of August 78 years ago. After regaining our freedom, we also became a democracy with universal adult franchise. In other words, we the people of India put the power to shape our destiny in the hands of each of us without any restrictions of gender, religion and other factors that had barred many people from voting in other democracies. In spite of many challenges, the people of India made a successful transition to democracy. The transition was a natural reflection of our ancient democratic ethos. India had the oldest republics in the world. It is rightly acknowledged as the mother of democracy. When we adopted the Constitution, it provided the edifice of democracy. We built democratic institutions that strengthened the practice of democracy. We prize our Constitution and our democracy above everything else. As we look back on the past, we must not forget the pain inflicted by the partition of the country. Today, we observe Vibhajan Vibhishika Smruti Divas. Terrible violence was witnessed and millions were forced to relocate due to partition. Today, we pay tributes to the victims of the follies of history. Dear fellow citizens, our Constitution contains 4 values as the 4 pillars upholding our democracy. They are justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. These are our civilizational principles that we rediscovered during the freedom struggle. At the heart of them all, I believe, is the notion of human dignity. Every human being is equal and everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. Everyone should have equal access to health care and education. Everyone should have equal opportunity. Those who had been traditionally at a disadvantage needed to be given a helping hand. Keeping these principles foremost in mind, we started a new journey in 1947. After the long years of foreign rule, India was in utter poverty at the time of independence. But in the 78 years since then, we have made extraordinary progress in all fields. India is well on the way to becoming a self-reliant nation and is moving ahead with great confidence. In the economic field, our achievements are all the more noticeable. With a GDP growth rate of 6.5% in the last fiscal, India is the fastest growing among the major economies in the world. Even amid stress in the global economy, demand at home is pacing ahead. Inflation has remained under control. Exports are rising. All key indicators show the economy in the peak of health. This is as much due to carefully calibrated reforms and sagacious economic management as due to the hard work and dedication of our workers and farmers. A large number of people have been pulled out of poverty through good governance. The government has been running a series of welfare initiatives for the poor and also for those who have risen above the poverty line but are still vulnerable, so that they do not fall below it again. This is reflected in the rising expenditure on social services. Income inequality is reducing. Regional disparities are also disappearing. The states and regions earlier known for weaker economic performance are now showing their true potential and catching up with the front runners. Our business leaders, small and medium industries and traders have always exhibited a can-do spirit. What was needed was removing the bottleneck in the path of wealth creation. That is so visible when it comes to infrastructure development over the past decade. We have expanded and strengthened the national highway network under the Bharatmala Pariyojana. The railways too have innovated, introducing new types of trains and coaches equipped with latest technologies. The inauguration of the rail link in Kashmir Valley is a major accomplishment. Rail connectivity with the valley will boost trade and tourism in the region and open new economic possibilities. This engineering marvel at Kashmir is a historic milestone for our country. The country is rapidly urbanizing, hence the government has been paying special attention to improve the conditions of the cities. Addressing the key area of urban transport, the government has expanded metro rail facilities. The number of cities with a metro rail service has gone up multifold in a decade. The Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, or AMRUT, has ensured more and more households have access to a tap with the assured supply of water and a storage connection. The government considers the basic amenities of life as rightful claims of the citizens. The Jal Jeevan Mission is making progress in providing tap water supply to rural households. In the healthcare sector, we have been witnessing a paradigm shift with a variety of initiatives under Ayushman Bharat, the largest healthcare scheme of its kind in the world. This scheme has already provided cover to more than 55 crore people. The government extended this benefit to all senior citizens of the age of 70 years and above, regardless of their income. As inequalities in access are removed, the poor and the lower middle class also benefit from the best possible healthcare facilities. In this digital age, it is apt that one sector in India that has seen the most dramatic advances is information technology. Nearly all villages have 4G mobile connectivity, and the remaining few thousands will be covered soon. This has made possible large-scale adoption of digital payment technologies, in which India has become a world leader in a short span. It has also supported direct benefit transfer, which ensures that welfare benefits reach the intended beneficiaries without glitch and leakage. More than half of the total number of digital transactions in the world take place in India. These developments have created a vibrant digital economy whose contribution to the country's GDP is increasing year on year. Artificial intelligence is the next stage of technological advancement and has already entered our lives. The government has launched the India AI mission to strengthen the country's AI capabilities. It is also helping to build AI models that answer to India's specific requirements. As we aspire to become a global AI hub by 2047, our focus will remain on making the best use of advances in technology for the common people to improve their lives by improving governance. For betterment of the lives of the common people, there is equal emphasis on improving the ease of doing business as well as on improving the ease of living. Development serves the purpose only when it helps those on the margins and opens new opportunities for them. Moreover, we are increasing our self-reliance on every area possible. This has added to our self-confidence and increased the momentum of our journey towards becoming Viksit Bharat. Last week, on August 7, the country celebrated National Handloom Day, which honors our weavers and their products. Since the year 2015, we have been celebrating this day to commemorate the Swadeshi movement, launched during our freedom struggle in the year 1905. The spirit of Swadeshi was strengthened by Mahatma Gandhi to promote the products made by the sweat and toil of Indian artisans and craftspersons and by their incomparable skills. The idea of Swadeshi has been inspiring our national endeavors like Make in India initiative and Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Let us resolve to buy and use Indian products. Dear fellow citizens, the all-round economic growth complemented by social sector initiatives has placed India well on the path of becoming a developed economy by 2047. With the nation marching ahead during the Amrit Kal, I see all of us contributing to the best of our ability. I believe there are three sections of society that will lead us on this path: youth, women, and the communities that had for long remained on the margins. Our youth have finally found the right environment for the realization of their dreams. The national education policy has brought in far-reaching changes, aligning learning with values and skills with tradition. Employment opportunities are booming. For those with entrepreneurial aspirations, the government has created the most conducive ecosystem. Fueled by young minds, our space program has witnessed unprecedented expansion. I am sure that Subhangshu Shukla's space journey to the International Space Station has fired a whole generation to dream bigger. It will prove extremely helpful for India's upcoming human space flight program Gaganyaan. Brimming with a new confidence, our youth are making a mark in sports and games. Chess, for example, is now dominated by India's youngsters like never before. We foresee transformative changes which will establish India as a global sporting powerhouse under the vision contained in the National Sports Policy 2025. Our daughters are our pride. They are breaching barriers in every field, including in the areas of defense and security. Sports are among important indicators of excellence, empowerment, and potential. The 19-year-old girl and a 38-year-old woman from India were the finalists in the FIDE Women's World Cup for Chess Championship. This underlines the sustained and globally comparable excellence across generations among our women. The gender gap in employment have also been reducing. With Nari Shakti Bandhan Adhiniyam, the empowerment of women is no longer a slogan but a reality. People belonging to a major segment of our society comprising scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward classes and other communities are shedding the tag of the marginalized. The government has been actively helping them to realize their social and economic aspirations with several initiatives. India is moving ahead at a faster pace towards realizing its true potential. Across our reforms and policies have created an effective platform. I can see a bright future ahead in which every one of us will be energetically contributing to the prosperity and happiness of all of us. We are moving ahead towards that future with sustained good governance and zero tolerance for corruption. Here I am reminded of an important statement by Mahatma Gandhi. He had noted, and I quote, "Corruption and hypocrisy ought not to be inevitable products of democracy." Let us pledge to realize Gandhiji's ideal and weed out corruption. Dear fellow citizens, this year we had to face the scourge of terrorism. Killing innocent citizens on holiday in Kashmir was cowardly and utterly inhuman. India responded in a decisive manner and with steely resolve. Operation Sindoor showed that our armed forces are prepared to meet any eventuality when it comes to guarding the nation. With strategic clarity and technical capability, they destroyed terrorist hubs across the border. I believe Operation Sindoor will go down in history as an example in humanity's fight against terrorism. In our response, what was most noticeable was our unity, which is also the most befitting response to those who wanted to divide us. Our unity was on display also in the multi-party delegations of the members of parliament that reached out to various nations to explain India's position. The world has taken note of India's stance that we will not be the aggressor, but we will not hesitate to retaliate in defense of our citizens. Operation Sindoor was also a test case of the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission in the defense sector. The outcome has proved that we are on the right path. Our indigenous manufacturing has achieved the critical level that makes us self-sufficient in meeting many of our security requirements. These are landmark achievements in India's defense history since independence. Dear fellow citizens, I would like to take this opportunity to urge all of you to do what you can to protect the environment. To respond to the challenge of climate change, we must also change. We must change our habits and our worldview. We must change our relationship with our land, rivers, mountains, and with flora and fauna. With contribution from all of us, we will leave behind a planet in which life will be flourishing in natural order. Dear fellow citizens, I have in mind especially the soldiers guarding our borders and the police as well as Central Armed Police Forces. I extend my greetings to the members of the judiciary and the civil services. My Independence Day greetings to the Indian officials in the missions abroad and also to the Indian diaspora. I once again extend my greetings for Independence Day. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on Newsx. The stage is set for one of the most important meetings of the 21st century. 1,267 days after Russia went to war with Ukraine, a United States president will be meeting with the Russian president with the hope of ending the war. The meeting is scheduled in Anchorage in Alaska at 1 a.m. India time on Friday. Before the meeting, the US president has warned Russian President Putin of severe consequences if Putin continues the Ukraine war after the summit. Putin, on the other hand, has acknowledged Trump's efforts as being genuine. Zelensky has warned Trump before the meeting that Putin definitely does not want peace. India has welcomed the summit, reiterating its stance that this is not an era of war. Trump's Treasury Secretary has also warned India of secondary tariffs over Russian oil if the summit fails. The stakes are high as the two leaders will be face to face. Whether peace is in sight is the only question that the world wants answers for. Joining us live at this point is Andrew Latham, Professor of International Relations. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor Latham, welcome. Thank you for being with us today on Newsx. How do you react to this meeting that has finally been fixed for the 15th of August in Alaska? What are the anticipations there in the U.S. for this meeting?
Well, I think some people have exaggerated expectations because there are some irreconcilable differences at play on this particular playing field, and it's going to be hard for Presidents Putin and Trump to overcome those irreconcilable differences. The areas where they agree are that both Russia and the US want a deal with each other. They want to enhance their relations. Russia wants out from under the sanctions. The United States wants to court Russia and draw it away from China in many respects. And so there's some prospect for progress there, I suppose. But Ukraine, the war in Ukraine is the sticking point. Trump has invested too much political capital in bringing that to an end. He needs to see that war end, and I don't think he cares on what terms. President Putin wants to see the war end, but on his terms, and his terms involve perpetual occupation and incorporation of the Donbass region into the Russian Federation. Here's the fly in the ointment, as it were. That deal could be done probably between those two great powers, but the European allies are backing Ukraine's demand for a seat at the table. No deal, says President Zelensky, unless Ukraine is part of the negotiation that yields that deal. And that there's a prospect for a follow-on summit in which that might happen. But at this particular summit, Trump is only paying attention to Zelensky because Prime Minister Starmer and Chancellor Merz and other important European players are putting a lot of pressure on him, which is further complicating these negotiations in Alaska. So, bottom line is, I'm not terribly hopeful, although I think the theatrics might be interesting.
Absolutely. Let me, in fact, quickly take that across to Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat as well. Ambassador Mukherjee, as far as, of course, this meeting is concerned, a lot is riding, of course, on this meeting between Trump and Putin. They have spoken, a few times since Donald Trump has become president of the United States again, but meeting face to face, on U.S. soil, what are your expectations?
Well, first of all, Uday, I would like to clarify that why should the Trump Treasury Secretary threaten India with more sanctions if this meeting does not take place as expected? Why doesn't he threaten China with more sanctions? He is threatening India because he thinks that India is weaker than China. That is completely unacceptable to a sovereign country. That's the first point I want to make. Secondly, there is a long history of the then USSR, now Russian Federation, and United States carving up the world as they wish to. It happened in Yalta, for example. It's not the first time that such thing would have happened. In this particular case, again, history has proven that history is never kind to defeated powers. And unfortunately, President Zelensky has lost the war. Under those circumstances, a deal could be possible if both sides agree to freeze where they are, which means Russia too would have to give up a small percentage of its territory to Ukraine, and that would be difficult for President Putin to accept, but he could be pressured to accept it. After that comes what? It was Henry Kissinger who famously said that no peace agreement should be fully satisfactory to both sides or so dissatisfactory that one side wants to break the deal. That is the way he explained the difference between Congress of Vienna and Treaty of Versailles in 1919. I think that an unsatisfactory peace deal, which both sides can accept, that is to say, Putin and Zelensky, which would be for which President Trump would take the credit, and for which President Putin would nominate President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, would actually be the tipping point in this case. All that President Putin has to do is to say, I accept a stalemate, like the way it was in Korea, and in return, Russia will nominate President Putin for the Nobel Peace Prize. That will come as a huge relief to India, because I don't understand how we have been dragged in for purchase of Russian oil, while the Chinese have got 90 days. That shows actually, Uday, to sobering thought, that the American president thinks we are a weak power, and so he deals with us like a bully, while he is very careful with China because it's a stronger power. We should remember that domestically and make ourselves a much stronger power so that bullies don't try and come and bully India. That is not acceptable to India, but clearly President Putin doesn't know Indian history. Under those circumstances, I am reasonably confident that there will be a breakthrough. It may not be satisfactory to Zelensky. It may not be satisfactory to the EU, but let's not forget the EU and Japan have already caved in to President Trump's tariff threats. The EU today is not in a situation where they can put any pressure on the United States, and therefore ultimately they will cave in, just the way they did at Yalta. So I would say that if Putin plays his cards right, he's got a deal, President Trump has got a deal, and President Trump gets the Nobel Peace Prize, and all of us in India can breathe in peace. Uday.
Yes, Major General Shashi Asthana, former DG Infantry, also is with us live now on the broadcast. Major General Asthana, this much-awaited meeting between Putin and Trump, of course, scheduled for the 15th of August in Alaska. It certainly is a big day in India, as 15th of August is Independence Day, but it's turned out to be a big day for the US and Russia too. What are your expectations for this meeting?
I don't visualize very much of expectations for the simple reason because the positions before the meeting are wide apart. We see that Russia is on a stronger wicket. They have an edge as far as this meeting is concerned from all angles. Firstly, the entire NATO wanted Putin to be a pariah, but it has not happened. The fact that he is now sitting with President Trump and has been attending so many meetings all over the world, and so many leaders have visited him, indicates that that has not happened. His isolation has not happened. He physically holds 20% of Ukraine is a stated fact. And it is also a stated fact that whatever one may do, NATO cannot get that territory back. That is also quite clear, at least by war. So that is one part of it. The second issue is, as far as Putin is concerned, with these conditions, his point of view is that his security concerns must be looked into, and his security concerns haven't changed right from the beginning of the war till date. So I don't think he's going to budge on those security concerns by any stretch of imagination. Now coming on to USA. USA certainly wants to have good relations with Russia for many reasons. They also don't want to get sucked into this war because their Indo-Pacific strategy is faltering. Because too much into this means that they have given a China a free hand, and thereafter they are no match to China as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned. That's a writing on the wall. So they have to now decide whether they are into this war or they can somehow give some kind of big power contestation to China elsewhere. That's a major decision which they have to take. Now, rhetorics apart, President Trump may say that, okay, Russia will have to face consequences. Russia has also tested a fair amount of nuclear weapons, and they are also said that, okay, we will deploy nuclear weapons as we want because there is no treaty now. So there is some pre-summit posturing, which I think both sides are doing. I don't think that that carries much weight. As far as Europe and Ukraine are concerned, I don't think they carry much weight. I agree with the ambassador for a simple reason, because they do not have the kind of strategic autonomy which they had earlier. The fact that they have given zero tariff to America and caved in shows that what kind of position they have as far as the US is concerned. Also, the problem with the European countries and Ukraine both are that they know that they cannot handle Russia minus USA. That's a statement of fact. And that is the reason why they are giving in to everything. The only thing why they got together and they gave a call to President Trump because they fear that Yalta 2 may not happen or should not happen. And therefore, somehow they have tried to sensitize President Trump, then don't agree to something which we will not be able to get out of it. So that's perhaps one of the things which have happened. So I think what President Trump has tried to also bring down the expectations by saying that it is a listening session, and then he has also said that it is a test run, and then he has said that I will have a second meeting, and in the second meeting Zelensky may be there. I don't think President Putin is ever going to meet Zelensky unless elected. His stance is, let him get elected again, then I will meet him. Minus elections, I am not going to meet him. He is not the leader. That is his stance. So I don't think he is going to change that stance also. So maximum cards are with Putin in this meeting. President Trump can do many things in a manner that he can get out of it. He can sulk, he can threaten, all those things can happen. He can put more sanctions, but I think on ground situations will not change with any of these actions. The only thing is that if people concede that Russia has taken territory which cannot be brought back, which is a fact, and thereafter start treating, putting substance into the meeting, then it will make some sense. Otherwise, if a stance is that not an inch of territory to be ceded, then it's a no-go. Back to you.
All right. Let me, in fact, go back to Andrew Latham. Andrew Latham, you know, as far as, of course, now the rhetoric that has come in before this meeting from the United States, be it Donald Trump or be it, of course, the White House spokesperson's Caroline Leavitt, or be it Kremlin's statements as well. Do you see any sort of big outcome of this meeting? Or do you believe it could set the ball rolling for further meetings between the two leaders at all?
Well, honestly, I don't think there'll be much. There'll be a lot of theatrics and optics, but there won't be much substantive agreement. Trump has already, it needs to be noted, changed his tune in the last few days. He's been much more, he's signaling much more clearly that Zelensky needs to be at some table at some point in some future. He wasn't speaking like that a week or 2 weeks ago when this was first raised as a possibility, this summit. Again, the US and Russia are highly motivated to come to a deal over the heads of the Ukrainians. Yalta, I'm not sure if the historical analogy is exactly right, but I think it is illuminating that great powers will do what great powers will do, and they will often not take into account what lesser powers, what their interests are. But I think domestic politics in the US is such that Trump simply cannot do a Yalta 2.0. He has to be sensitive to the fact that there are big and powerful constituencies in the US that are very pro-Ukrainian and that don't want to see Zelensky thrown under the proverbial bus. So he has changed his tune, whether that's, again, just theatrics or whether he's really changed his mind. I think it's the former, not the latter. I think both parties, Russia and the US, have some vested interest in coming away with a joint communique which sounds good and looks good, and maybe as a promissory note about some future process that will unfold that will include Zelensky. But here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, the Russian constitution claims the Donbass is part of the Russian Federation, and the Ukrainian constitution claims that the Donbass is part of Ukraine. And there's no middle ground there at all, except the facts on the ground that the military on both sides are delivering. And it's worth pointing out parenthetically that Russia has made, by this board standards, some substantial gains in the last few days, which again is likely to strengthen their hand at the negotiating table. So bottom line, I think I agree with my two colleagues. The more I think about it, Yalta 2.0 does strike me as plausible. But as Mark Twain once put it, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And we're likely to see this, a rhyme of Yalta and not a repeat of Yalta.
Yes, let me in fact quickly now get in a quick closing comment from you, Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, on this meeting's direct fallout on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. What do you believe could be the ramifications of this meeting on that conflict? And also, given the fact that Ukrainian head of state Zelensky is also viewing this meeting very closely.
I'd like to first make two quick comments. First is, Hegel had said, if you don't know your history, history will repeat itself. Secondly, defeated powers never get their territory back. As we know to our cost, we've never yet got back Akshay Chin from China. When you have lost territory in war, you don't get it back. Look at the Korean partition. So President Zelensky will have to do an about turn to understand that the land which Russia has captured, which has been traditionally Russian and has been captured with Russian blood, sweat and tears, is never going to be given back by Putin. Whether he likes it or he doesn't like it, whether he's thrown under a bus, he's finished his term in any case. He's not faced an election because of the excuse of of what has happened. I'm afraid this is Zelensky's curtain call. He has to give it up. Secondly, as far as Yalta 2.0 is concerned, yes, it will happen because both sides want it. Last time, there was an interloper at the table, that was Churchill, who had no business to be there. The real two players were USSR and US. And this time, there is no Churchill there, there is no Zelensky there is no defeated power there. There are these two powerful men, and they will do Yalta 2.0. And ultimately, the European Union, who caved in, unlike India, to tariffs, the European Union security is totally dependent on NATO and United States. They will accept it, and so will Zelensky, who will be thrown under the bus. Those are my closing comments to this. That is what is going to happen.
All right. Ambassador Mukherjee, yes, Ambassador Mukherjee, point taken. Major Lasthana, last word to you.
European Union wants the war to continue for the reason because they haven't prepared to face Russia, and they think that if Ukrainians can die and make Russia weaker, it suits them. So paying some money and making Russia weak suits them, and that is why they are trying very hard. Zelensky doesn't give in to a ceasefire, because Zelensky a little earlier was inclined for a ceasefire, but presently his tone has also changed after Europeans gave him a little bit of thumbs up in a manner that don't cede territory. So the question is, reality is that he has to cede territory. Without ceding territory, ceasefire cannot happen, is a reality. Whatever President Trump may try, whatever anybody may try. Zero ceding territory does not mean ceasefire, and therefore some compromise has to be there, and unless that compromise is reached, or they have to agree first that there could be a possibility of a compromise, then only this deal can go through. Otherwise, it will be optics, it will be good show. A joint statement can say that we try to understand each other and we understand each other's positions very well, or something like that. Somebody will very nicely and intelligently draft the joint statement, but notwithstanding that, I don't think nothing very much will change on ground. Uday.
All right. In fact, we're getting more breaking news now coming in. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. Following the death of 38 people in the Kishtwar flash floods, the administration has now announced state mourning for the victims. In the light of the disaster, the Jammu and Kashmir government has ordered cancellation of all cultural events scheduled for the 15th of August as a mark of respect. Ashik Mir is joining us for more on this story. Ashik, there will be mourning tomorrow in Jammu and Kashmir. Celebrations, cultural events have been cancelled.
Well, Uday, as you said, in a tragic turn of events, flash floods in Jammu Kashmir's Kishtwar district have claimed civil lives as a mark of mourning. The Jammu Kashmir government has cancelled all cultural programs scheduled for the Independence Day on 15th of August. Authorities say that the decision has taken out of the respect for the victims of this natural calamity, and all district officials have been instructed to focus entirely on relief and rescue operations. Meanwhile, a flooding-like situation is also emerging in several parts of North Kashmir, including Baramulla, Kupwara, and continued rainfall over the last 24 hours. And rescue teams have been put on high alert, and people living near the streams and rivers are being advised to remain vigilant. This is the precautionary measures what the government has also ordered, that all SDRF and DRF teams should be on the toes, because there are continuously raining in J&K. There.
All right, more breaking news now coming in this hour. In fact, in another update coming in from Jammu and Kashmir, according to reports, a flooding-like situation is emerging in parts of North Kashmir. Following continuous rainfall, authorities are monitoring vulnerable areas closely, and people living near water bodies are being advised to stay alert. Rescue teams are on standby in case of emergencies. Ashik Mir is joining us live for more on this story. Ashik, authorities are monitoring the sensitive areas very, very closely, looking at the precarious situation.
Well, absolutely, Uday. It's raining continuously in the parts of Kashmir, in North Kashmir as well. There are several parts of North Kashmir, including Baramulla and Kupwara, following continuous rainfall over the past 24 hours. Rescue teams have been put on high alert, and people are advised us to remain vigilant. Officials have said that vulnerable areas are being closely monitored and evacuation plans are in place if situation worsens. Following the tragic flash flood in Kishtwar, and the Chief Minister also said that the Jammu Kashmir has, the J&K government has expressed a deep sorrow over the incident, and he has tweeted also and announced the cancellation of all events on the Independence Day celebrations.
All right. In fact, let me quickly address some more updates coming in. And latest from Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtwar, the rescue and relief personnel have recovered over 40 dead bodies. Over 100 people still remain missing. Indian Army, J&K Police, paramilitary forces, NDRF, local administration are all continuing the relief and rescue operations. Relief and rescue work continues, Ashik. Obviously, the adverse weather will be hampering the rescue and relief as well.
Absolutely, it's continuously raining, Uday, in parts of Kishtwar as well as in Kashmir. So far, over 42 bodies have been recovered following the devastating flash floods in Kishtwar. More than 100 people are still missing, and the rescue efforts are ongoing with the Indian Army and the J&K Police, NDRF, paramilitary forces and local administration are working tirelessly to locate the survivors and provide the relief in these areas, Uday.
All right, Shahid, beg your pardon, Ashik, thank you for joining us with those updates. More breaking news now coming in. Newsx has exclusively accessed the phone call between Mumbai-based businessman Deepak Kothari and Raj Kundra. In the audio, Kundra is heard discussing with Kothari how the money was equity and not a loan. Businessman Deepak Kothari has now alleged that he had given 60 crore rupees for business expansion around 2015 to 2023 to Kundra and Shetty, but they spent it on personal expenses. In this context, Deepak Kothari has now filed a complaint against the couple. Let's in fact listen into this exclusive audio that Newsx has accessed. This audio is allegedly of Raj Kundra and Deepak Kothari.
बीच में राजेश पाजी थे जिन्होंने ये डील कराई और कर्जा तो लिया नहीं था मैंने आपसे फिर भी एक मॉरल ग्राउंड पे एक मैं भी अपनी बात कर लेता फिर आप कर लेना ठीक है हमने बोला कि नहीं बट जेन्युइन चीज है ना कर्जा नहीं लिया हुआ ना तो पेपर के हिसाब से पर उसके बाद कोई कमिटमेंट नाम की कोई चीज थी ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं बट कर्जा नहीं लिया ना भाई ये बात माननी पड़ेगी ना कर्जा तो नहीं लिया ना आपसे कोई मैंने करते हैं बिजनेस का लॉस हम तो कभी ऑफिस में बैठे नहीं काम तुम ही देख रहे हो कोई सिग्नेचर आज मैं फ्रेंड सिग्नेचर अथॉरिटी तो कभी रहे नहीं है बट आज किसी बोर्ड पे किसी पेपर में कोई साइन किया अच्छा बोर्ड पे सीट था आपके पास ट्रस्ट था एज ए फ्रीडम तुम रेंटल जगह ले रहे थे अपॉइंटमेंट कर रहे थे खर्चे कर रहे थे सीओ चलेगा ना देखिए एग्जांपल देता हूं आज की डेट में इसके अंदर कोई इंटरव्यू तो कभी किया नहीं आज की डेट में अगर मैं फ्रेंड्स में आता हूं मैं बोलता हूं भैया मुझे 10% इक्विटी लेनी है एक वैल्यूएशन सेट हो जाती है मैं फ्रेंड्स अल्कोहल में आ जाता हूं कल को वो बिजनेस चलता नहीं है मैं थोड़ा आपके पास आऊंगा भैया मेरा पैसा वापस करो मैंने तो इक्विटी में दिया अपसाइड मेरा डाउन साइड मेरा सब टर्म्स जो साइड की बात है बट टर्म्स कंडीशन तो यही थे ना भैया हमारे तो टर्म्स कंडीशन तो ऐसा नहीं है
Shahid Ansari is joining us for more on this story. Shahid, an audio conversation now coming to light, which Newsx has accessed exclusively between Kundra and Kothari.
जी देखिए ऑडियो आने के बाद भी जो है हालांकि इससे पहले कई बातें सामने आ चुकी हैं और इन सारी बातों को मद्देनजर रखते हुए ही ईओडब्ल्यू ने जो है इस पूरे मामले में जो है मामला दर्ज किया है क्योंकि दीपक कोठारी जो है वो जुहू के रहने वाले हैं और वो लोटस कैपिटल फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज के जो है वो डायरेक्टर हैं। उन्होंने बताया कि उनकी मुलाकात जब शिल्पा और राज से राजेश आर्या नाम के शख्स ने करवाई थी और उस वक्त शिल्पा और राज जो है बेस्ट डील टीवी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के डायरेक्टर थे जो एक होम शॉपिंग और ऑनलाइन रिटेल कंपनी थी और इसी कंपनी में दोनों के पास जो है कुछ 87% जो है हिस्सेदारी थी। अच्छा कोठारी का ये कहना है कि शिल्पा और राज ने उनसे 75 करोड़ रुपए की कर्ज मांगा था जिस पर 12% ब्याज देने की बात भी कही गई थी लेकिन बाद में मामला जो है टाई फिश हो गया और पैसे देने में दोनों जो है मतलब कि आनाकानी कर रहे थे और बाद में उन्होंने कर्ज को जो है निवेश के तौर पर जो है लेने की सलाह दी ताकि ज्यादा टैक्स न देना पड़े ये उनकी तरफ से कहा गया था। इसके साथ ही हर महीना मुनाफा और मूल रकम लौटाने का जो वादा किया और कोठारी ने जो है तकरीबन जो है 2015 में 31 करोड़ रुपए के आसपास और सितंबर में कुछ 28 करोड़
जी बिल्कुल। अब उसी को शायद राज कुंद्रा इसी ऑडियो में कह रहे हैं कि एक्विटी था और किसी तरह का लोन नहीं था या कर्जा नहीं था।
जी जी जी, यही बात मैं बताना चाहता था आपको कि ये सारी जो रकम ये हुई है, उसके बाद जब चूंकि ये पैसे उनको जब वापस करने की बात आई है, तब यहाँ पे ये सारी चीजें आई। अच्छा, उन्होंने राज कुंद्रा के ऑडियो में भी देखिए जो चीज है कि लोन नहीं है बल्कि ये कोई है, लेकिन अहम बात यह है कि जिसके साथ फ्रॉड किया गया है उसके पैसे तो गए हैं। अब चूंकि इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस विंग अब ये पूरे मामले की तहकीकात कर रही है और उसके बाद ये पता चल पाएगा कि मामला असल में क्या है। लेकिन बात पैसों की जो आ रही है, पैसे तो जो कोठारी है उनके अमाउंट तो उनका गया ही है। और उन्होंने जबकि कुछ बात ये भी बताई थी कि ये पैसे जो है लोन ना लेकर दूसरी शक्ल में लेने का मतलब यह है कि टैक्स से वो बच सकते हैं। ये सारी चीजें थी। अब ये ऑडियो आई है, ऑडियो के बाद जो है हालांकि इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस विंग इस पूरे मामले में जो है जांच कर रही है और जल्द ही जो है इस पर जो है खुलासा होगा कि ये रकम उनको वापस कैसे करनी है या करना है या नहीं करना, ये सारी चीजें जांच का विषय है।
शायद अंसारी, शुक्रिया हमारे संग जुड़ने के लिए। वक्त अब हो चुका है एक छोटे से ब्रेक का। ब्रेक के लिए हम रुकते हैं। ब्रेक के बाद सुर्खियों का सिलसिला जारी है।
Nestled in the heart of Gujarat lies Vadnagar, a town where ancient echoes resonate with the vibrant pulse of modern India. For centuries, Vadnagar has stood as a silent witness to the ebb and flow of civilizations. Archaeological evidence suggests that its existence dates back to the Mauryan and Gupta empires, a testament to its enduring significance. The majestic Kirti Toran, believed to be a 12th century architectural marvel, stands as a grand gateway to Vadnagar's rich past, narrating tales of Solanki dynasty's patronage of arts and culture. Stepwells like the Mehtaji Nivav served as vital lifelines, showcasing ingenious water management systems prevalent in ancient times. These structures not only provided water but also served as community spaces. The revered Kishtwar temple, dedicated to Lord Shiv, stands as a spiritual anchor, its intricate architecture and serene atmosphere drawing devotees for generations.
हाटकेश्वर मंदिर में पुजारी की सेवा देता हूँ। वडनगर के इतिहास में अगर हम जानना चाहें तो वडनगर यहाँ पुराणों में भी लिखा है, यहाँ हम सुनते भी आए हैं कि सतयुग से वडनगर की स्थापना है। ऐतिहासिक महत्व बहुत है क्योंकि वडनगर में भगवान हाटकेश्वर स्वयं प्रकट हुए हैं और ये हाटकी नदी में से भगवान प्रकट हुए हैं, इसलिए इनका नाम हाटकेश्वर है। सोना यानी ऐश्वर्य का प्रतीक है, तो भगवान ये हाटकेश्वर ऐश्वर्य देने वाले हैं। ऐसे 5 स्वयं लिंग है, इसलिए वडनगर की महिमा बहुत बढ़ जाती है और यहाँ जो भी हाटकेश्वर के दर्शन करने आते हैं, भगवान हाटकेश्वर उनकी मनोकामना पूर्ण करते हैं। मोदी जी वडनगर के ही है, उनका ये वतन है और यहाँ जो हाटकेश्वर है उसके बगल में ही उनका गुजराती स्कूल था। यहाँ गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री बने तब भी यहाँ भगवान का आशीर्वाद लेके गए थे, अभिषेक करके गए थे और भारत के प्रधानमंत्री बने तब भी यहाँ भगवान हाटकेश्वर का आशीर्वाद लेके गए थे।
Yet, the story of Vadnagar is not just about its past. It's about how the past is being preserved and presented for the future. The new Vadnagar Archaeological Experiential Museum stands as a testament to this commitment. This isn't just a museum, it's a living time capsule. Visitors can explore over 5,000 artifacts spanning 2,500 years of continuous human habitation, from ancient coins to intricate sculptures. But its most unique feature is a walkway that allows you to look directly down into a live excavation site, witnessing history being unearthed in real time.
मेरा नाम उपेंद्र पटेल है। मैं यहाँ पर वडनगर में देखता हूँ, जब से नरेंद्र मोदी गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री रहे तब से वडनगर का विकास बहुत ज़्यादा हुआ है। आज हम देखते हैं तानारीली, कीर्ति तोरण, हाटकेश्वर महादेव, और अभी तो हमारा यहाँ पर बड़ा सा एक म्यूजियम बना है जो वर्ल्ड में दूसरे नंबर का बोला जाता है उनको, अनादि वडनगर। तो ये म्यूजियम वर्ल्ड में दूसरे नंबर का है। बाहर से टूरिस्ट को आने के कारण यहाँ पर जो यहाँ का जो बिजनेस है उस पर भी ज़्यादा मुनाफा हुआ है। पढ़ने के लिए भी बहुत सी अच्छी ये स्कूलें भी है शिक्षण के लिए भी, तो यहाँ पर वडनगर का विकास बहुत हुआ है।
Today, Vadnagar is embracing modernity with open arms. The revitalized railway station stands as a symbol of connectivity and progress, linking the town to broader networks. Improved infrastructure, including well-maintained roads and growing connectivity, is facilitating economic growth and enhancing the lives of the residents. The Vadnagar Nagarpalika Board plays a crucial role in planning and executing these developmental projects.
મારું નામ સાહિલ સથવારા છે. હું ઘણા દિવસ પછી વડનગરમાં આવ્યો તો આટલે જોયું બધું. વડનગરમાં મ્યુઝિયમ અને જે એનું સિવિલ જે બનાવેલી હતી મેડિકલ કોલેજ એ બી, અને આ તાનારીરી જે ગાર્ડન છે એ પણ આમ ઘણા વર્ષો પછી આવ્યો તો એવું લાગ્યું કે ઘણો બધો સુધારો થયેલો છે અહીંયા. મોદી સાહેબના પ્રધાનમંત્રી મોદી સાહેબના નેતૃત્વમાં ઘણો બધો 5-10 વર્ષ પછી જે હું આટલા આવ્યો તો એમાં ઘણો બધો સુધારો જોવા મળે છે. તો અહીંયા બી કોઈ બીને આવવું હોય તો બહુ સરસ જગ્યા છે, તો ચોક્કસ તમે આ જગ્યાનું તમે નિહાળ જુઓ આવીને.
In healthcare, institutions like the GMERS Medical College are providing quality education and medical services, ensuring the well-being of the community. The Vadnagar General Hospital further strengthens the healthcare infrastructure, offering accessible and essential medical assistance to all. Education forms the bedrock of progress, and Vadnagar's primary schools are nurturing young minds, shaping the future of the town. Amidst the progress, Vadnagar retains its serene charm. The Tanarari Garden offers a tranquil escape, a testament to the town's commitment to preserving green spaces.
मेरा नाम नरेश कुमार चीनूभाई बारोट है। 7 नामों से प्रख्यात अभी वडनगर भूमि ऐसी पवित्र भूमि है जिसमें 360 मंदिर है। अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी बड़ा प्रधान थे, तब गुजरात में हेलीकॉप्टर, अभी जहां सिविल हमारे मोदी साहब ने बनाया है वहां हेलीकॉप्टर से वहां सभा हुई थी और वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज में वडनगर को रखा हुआ था। और मोदी जी ने विकास करके ऐसा दिखाया है कि वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज कैसा होता है। एक बार म्यूजियम की मुलाकात ले ले, एक बार हाटकेश्वर महादेव की मुलाकात ले ले, एक बार तानारीरी की मुलाकात ले ले, एक बार झंझणिया कुआं की मुलाकात ले ले, एक बार शर्मिष्ठा तालाब की पूरी परिभ्रमणा कर ले। ये वडनगर सिटी मोदी जी ने इतनी प्रख्यात कर दी है कि पूरा विश्व देखने आए, ऐसी हमारी भावना है। जय राम जी की जय, माता जी।
Vadnagar stands as a compelling example of how a town deeply rooted in history can seamlessly embrace modernity. It's a tapestry woven with threads of the past and aspirations for the future. As the birthplace of India's Prime Minister, its journey from an ancient settlement to a beacon of development and national pride is a story of profound transformation.
A 50-year-old man and his daughter have been severely injured in a tragic incident in Delhi's Kalkaji. When a tree fell on their bike during heavy rains, they were quickly rushed to a nearby hospital. The man died during treatment at AIIMS Trauma Center. Another person was also struck by the tree while trapped inside a car. The entire capital has been brought to a standstill due to heavier showers this monsoon. Delhiites have taken to social media to share videos of waterlogged roads, crumbling infrastructure. The incident at Kalkaji in particular is disturbing because CCTV visuals show that a massive tree fell and 2 people on their bikes were crushed within seconds. This is completely unacceptable and also calls for immediate accountability. The Lipcharian Image Guru is joining us live. Sandeep Chandra, Delhi resident, is live with us. M.K. Meena, former IPS officer, also joins us live. Anurag Kulshrestha, road safety expert, is also joining the broadcast. The Lipcharian, what do you make of this tragedy in Delhi, rain-related incidents causing another death?
You know, the situation in Delhi today has been quite horrendous, both in terms of just the sheer shocking loss of lives. And I think this incident is just one of several others which have happened in the capital over the last several days of rains. I think that crumbling urban infrastructure and our inability to understand, predict, and spot natural disasters which are on their way towards us is a huge sense of concern for the average citizen. Governments claim that they are not able to cope with nature's fury. Very often, as in both the flash floods and the cloudbursts, it is humans who are interfering in natural processes who tend to have the worst of it. But what is happening in the city is a shame. And Delhi, as the capital, needs to understand that what happens here reflects on the country much more than what happens in many other places. So I think we need to sit up and notice that it is crumbling, and the danger is that nobody is in charge.
Sandeep Chandra, in fact, also joins us now live on the broadcast. Sandeep, as a resident of Delhi, what does this incident really make you feel? Sandeep, can you hear me? Okay, I think we've lost that connection there. But M.K. Meena, former IPS officer, M.K. Meena, this is clear apathy that is being displayed. After this death, what action should be taken against the errant authorities? Will there be a case lodged? Will there be action taken?
In fact, road controlling authorities have got control over their trees. The in charges of trees on the roads have to be made responsible. What happens? There is a confusion that for cutting trees, you require permission of forest department, yes. But now latest, they have issued some instructions. Forest department has come out with SOP, how to prune trees, how to cut trees, how to prune trees, and what are the measures they have to take. But what happens regularly, whether it is MCD, whether it's NDMC, whether it is PWD, whether NHI, whatever authority they have got on the roads, these trees, they have got control over trees. They don't take these things seriously. There should be regular pruning of trees. Because what happens, a tree becomes heavy on the top and that base can't tolerate, the roots can't tolerate. That's why these come out when during rain or storm or even in natural courses. So what happens, there should be regular checking of each and every tree, whether it is weak, whether it is sustained. That has to be seen, because I have got much experience. I was in forest, I have Indian Forest Service for 3 years. I belong to rural area where I know how to grow trees. I have done MSc Agriculture, BSc Agriculture. Regarding trees, I know how to maintain. In city, if you notice, there's concrete jungle in Delhi, like nearby roads, yogurt trees. On one side, tree get only soil area very few. Whole area is covered with concrete. So it becomes weak. Trees become weak on the down. So there has to be regular. And I could see the SOP as well as instructions of forest department. They give only a particular width of girth of you can prune that kind of branches. You can't prune more than that. It is not possible, because when it becomes heavy, there has to be regular pruning. It doesn't affect the environment, because whenever you prune any tree, you get new leaves immediately. You get new life in the tree. There has to be restriction of cutting of trees. The strict construction, strict restrictions, but not on pruning of trees. Pruning of trees should be allowed freely. The concerned agencies who are responsible for maintaining those trees on the public roads or public places, they should be allowed to cut trees without taking permission of forest department. They should not be allowed to cut the trees, but they should be allowed to. But the girth of branches or width of the girth of the branches should be more. It is allowed only very less. It doesn't affect, because what happens, if you see whole data in India as well as in Delhi, lot of people they are losing their lives every year because of falling of trees. Not only in Delhi, whole India. So there has to be, yes, forest, we need environment. We don't need environment degradation. We need urban forest. But this should not be at the cost of life of people. because now we are playing with life of people, where we can't prevent anybody. When there is a storm, still the traffic has to move. When there is rain, still traffic
Yes.
has to move.
Yes.
So we have to be very careful, and all
Absolutely.
agencies are to be
Anurag
responsible.
Kurshrestha, how do we, improve safety? Every time, there is a rain-related incident, these questions are asked, but no solutions are offered or no proactive action is taken. Why do people's lives have to go in this manner before finally civic authorities wake up?
Frankly, we are the people who are doing everything traditionally, whether it may be any observant, whether it be any reactant or the vigilant people. We all are behaving traditionally. There are some rules and regulations set by the Indian Road Congress. You have not to grow or not to plant any tree nearby the roadsides. But whenever the government are introducing any agenda, they are saying 2 million tree, 3 million tree, 1 million tree, and all are to be planted on our roads. It's a matter of the marketing. And then when we are rising the problems, and then we are thinking about the solution of the problem. So this is very wrong. In basically in Delhi, in IRC codes, there's a clear fundamental till the moment there is no divider. If the divider is less than 2 meters, you cannot grow any plantation over there. But we are doing this. There must be a grass or the concrete one, but not the plants or trees. But we are growing this. Roadside plantation, we are ready to do every year, everywhere, whenever it's possible. Whenever it's a clear cut IRC codes, there must be 180-degree visibility on our roads. But we are planting the trees. We are doing some other works also, which is reducing this visibility. And very frankly, just because of the poor visibility, this is our fundamental and research, scientific research. The type of vegetation we are doing on our roads is increasing crime, is increasing accidents, is increasing dust pollution too. But nobody is focusing on these points. Of course, Green Tribunal is having the one very clear-cut fundamental. If you are doing some concrete work around the tree, less than within a circumference of 6 feet, then you are liable to get a punishment by 10,000 rupees on the contractor or on the engineer immediately. But still, we are doing this we are covering these vegetations on our roads through, if you'll see the dividers, it's 3 feet height dividers. Throughout Delhi, we are doing this nonsense. But still, everything is continue on the part of this, our deaths of our important citizens, but we are continuing with all these nonsenses. So follow the IRC rules. It's very simple formula. Nearby the roads up to 5 meters, there must not be a plantation even. But we are doing the plantation, and not only the plants. Trees, we are plowing the trees. And forget about the pruning, and because there's no clear-cut fundamental. Whenever I'm meeting with the executive engineers or engineers related to civic agencies, they are so afraid of that. No, we can't touch trees, whether it's taking a life of the people or not, but they are having the fear in their mind very much clearly that they will not touch the trees. So there must be the SOPs. If there is a room space means up to a height of 9 feet. If there is any branch or is there any like trees, plantation or whatever, you have to cut it as per IRC code. No growing, no plantation up to that limit. So it's very clear fundamental that we have to prune, we have to trim the trees as far as possible when it's a concern of the life of the people, because trees are planted for the sake of life of people. But if they are taking the life of the people, then we must think about this, and there must be a clear-cut fundamental from the government side, not for the departments and the Green Tribunal and all. We have to cover up all these issues through one SOP set by the government only, and clear-cut instructions to all these government departments, civic agencies especially, to what type of pruning, what type of trimming must be there, what type of plantation must be allowed nearby the roads is. So it's very clear. Till government is silent on this, departments are silent on this, forest department is not coming out the proper SOPs for whole of the cities or whole of the country, and the process is going on. Traditional process is going on. Yes, please.
All right, let me quickly, in fact, take that back to Dilip Cherian. Dilip Cherian, this is something which repeats year after year. Is it just a problem in the big metro cities, or do you believe these big metro cities is where such stories are covered because of media presence, because of high social media presence? Who knows what's happening in tier 2, tier 3 cities of the country, or are the metros actually the urban death traps?
As Mukesh and Anurag have said, we clearly don't understand trees, forestry, and how nature needs to be dealt with. It's SOPs which are either out of date or SOPs which are, in a sense, knee-jerk reactions to urban requirements. I'm a great believer, and over the years, having seen cities across the world, we are victims of rapid urbanization without appropriate sensitivity to what nature is, how nature needs to be treated and how it needs to be incorporated into our cities. Very often what we are doing is actually the result of, as I said, reactions to court orders or reactions from the top, orders given by people who are just trying to sound as if they are taking action. We need to understand that, as you mentioned, the cities in level 2, level 3 are also facing the same problems of rampant urbanization under pressure. Land mafias are in control in many places, and administrators like the ones who've just been speaking about this with great sensitivity are often overruled or don't get heard. There is enough natural expertise in this country. We need to make sure that the trees that are grown are appropriate to the cities where they are actually being grown in. We also need to understand that pedestrian and driver safety needs to be kept in mind when we choose the kind of road design that we are doing. Is forestation necessary in cities? I think we need more parks, we need more open lungs, given the fact that the air quality in all cities is also falling. Monsoons are the only time when the air is relatively clean. But even that is actually going for a toss. So we need to understand that urban expertise is definitely and distinctly lacking in most of the people who are leading cities. The technical people are overruled and overwhelmed by the political impulses, and business people with just a pure profit motive are allowing their contributions to politicians or whatever it is to run riot. And who is suffering? Yes. The average citizen.
It's a common
one. That citizen is also voiceless.
Absolutely. MK Meena, are the laws strong enough for such cases of apathy which should be applied against these errant officials? Or is it the lack of will of implementing the laws? What is at fault here? The lack of the laws or the lack of implementation of them?
In fact, what our experts have spoken, they have given expert advice. Like India Road Congress, which I also used to attend meeting when I was DCP traffic. In fact, they are giving guidelines, but agencies are not following. I fully agree. Because besides roads, the trees have to be planted in systematic way so that there should be enough protection for tree not to fall and enough protection of the road users, that they should not fall on them. Now agencies, there are instructions, various instructions. There are instructions by the civic agencies for their field officers to check regularly. It depends. If officer is good, they will check, they will take permission. The problem comes, as our earlier speaker has spoken, the people are afraid of taking action against them under Tree Act, under Forest Act, Tree Act. What happens if you cut trees more than a particular advice, then action is taken. There are a lot of activists are there in the city. They go and complain. So that's why agencies are afraid. it is duty of Forest Department to come out with clear guideline that if you are pruning trees, no action will be taken against these agencies, the NDMC, MCD, PWD, NHI, all officers are to be fully authorized to prune the trees as required. As our expert has spoken, we should not plant trees just near road. If you take example, there are many trees on the road itself. When there are trees just near road, so it is a mockery. Like it is when you see the city, there is no view for the drivers. They can't see. And if you plant, like even if there should be regular pruning of whatever you plant on in the median. In the median, what happens nowadays? There are a lot of cattle are sitting, and when you are driving on one side, suddenly one person comes out from the median. It is not visible. It should be visible by the driver. So it is become mockery. Like there is lack of seriousness on the part of civic agencies also. There is fear also of this SOP. SOP has to be amended. They have to be given mandate. Forest Department should be liberal, and the agencies have to be serious to follow Indian Road Congress instructions and their guidelines. The near roads.
Let me leave the last word to you.
Planting of trees, they should follow.
Let me leave the last word to you, Anurag Kulshrestha. Anurag, can you hear me? Anurag?
He is muted.
Okay, I think we've lost our connection, unfortunately, with Anurag Kulshrestha.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त, मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
More updates meanwhile coming in. The Supreme Court has issued its interim order on the Bihar Special Intensive Revision exercise. Supreme Court has directed the ECI to publish a list of deleted voters and mention their reason for deletion. The petitioners had contested 65 lakh names missing in the draft electoral roll. The Supreme Court has directed the EC to publish the list of these 65 lakh names on their website. In their interim order, the Supreme Court also asked the EC to mention reasons for deletion. The top court has also opened up Aadhaar copy as a valid document for those contesting their names missing in the list. The EC strongly objected what they call dirty phrases like vote chori, which were being used as an attack on electors. The BJP, on the other hand, opened another front against the Congress. Amidst Rahul Gandhi's protests against the EC and the BJP has shown documents indicating Sonia Gandhi's inclusion in the voter rolls before her getting an Indian citizenship. And now Gajendra Shekhawat, Union Minister, in fact, has also claimed that during Nehru, nitric acid was poured into ballot boxes that were full to affect results. Let's take a look at the directions that have been given first by the Supreme Court today. These are, of course, the orders that the court made today in this matter. The Supreme Court made this interim order today, of course, where the names of those omitted can submit claims with a copy of the Aadhaar card. This is something that, of course, is a big takeaway number one of the Supreme Court's interim order today in the SIR matter. Also, notice to be posted on district electoral officers' social media pages as well of those names that have been deleted from the list. the EC to publish this list of 65 lakh deleted voters in Bihar very, very soon. I think a time of next week has been given for this to be done. Booth-wise details to be also made accessible via the EPIC number, that is the EPIC number. That is again another big takeaway of the Supreme Court interim order today. The list must also mention the reasons for each voter's non-inclusion in the draft roll. So the reasons for why those names are deleted must also be mentioned along with the names, is what the apex court has said. Wide publicity to also be given to the list in Bihar's newspapers, Doordarshan as well as radio channels. This is also something that the Supreme Court has urged. Booth-wise lists to be displayed on notice boards in panchayat offices as well. So those are all details, of course, of the order today that has been issued by the Supreme Court in this matter. Joining us to discuss this is Jasmine Sandavalia, BJP spokesperson. Neeraj Mishra, Congress spokesperson, is also joining us live. Sumit Peer, political commentator, is live with us. Nikhil Jain, advocate, also joins the broadcast live. Would you read this verdict today as a bit of a setback for the Election Commission in this exercise, Jasmine Sandavalia?
Not at all, not at all. Why would we think that it's a setback for us? We are
no, not for you, for the EC.
But the only reason that the BJP was saying anything against the opposition was, repeatedly we have said that the opposition has every right to protest, but the manner in which the protest was being made, after all, the Election Commission is an independent body. It's an institution and it does not take its powers from any central government. And we welcome the decision of Supreme Court. And like I said repeatedly, that it is not that the opposition should not have the right to oppose anything, but it is the manner in which the Congress has been playing to a gallery and alleging that it's a vote chori. It is not a vote chori. And after all, in any democracy, there is a system to check and wean out wrong voters and delete the list of people who are not present on the ground. So there was no reason for them to make such an hue and cry. And whatever the Supreme Court has said today is welcome by us.
All right, Neeraj Mishra, let me draw you in here as well of the Congress. Neeraj, how do you react to the interim order by the apex court today and its implications on the exercise ahead?
Udayji, it is worth noting that the confidence of the voters in democracy comes from the transparency of the system. And at this point, the Election Commission and the BJP spokespersons who had become advocates for the Election Commission, they were trying not to promote transparency, but rather to ensure that the system becomes opaque. But today, when the Supreme Court heard the matter intensively and has given this interim order that all the list of voters whose names have been deleted should be put on a website, that too, a massive campaign should be done where advertisement should be given out that these names have been cut out, and if there are any objections and claims, you can file it using your Aadhaar card also. Earlier, they had given just a suggestion, which ECI conveniently ignored, that they didn't want to include the Aadhaar as one of the documents for the procedure. But today, Supreme Court has clearly stated that the democracy's strongest pillar is that the voters need to have this confidence that the system is with them. And with this interim order, we are all very happy. And we are saying this, that Udayji, let us understand why we have called it as a vote chori. You tell me this is only a single revision program in which not a single voter has been added. 65 lakh voters have been found unfit that they cannot vote because they are not able to furnish documents. But if this would have been a proper revision exercise, there would have been a lot of people who would have been added also, because in 6 months, a lot of people would have used that Form 6, which BJP has actually used in Mahadevpura. So the entire, the narrative which BJP was trying to create and was advocating for the Election Commission, that whatever the opposition is asking is some sort of disservice to the nation, the Supreme Court has brought it to a halt. And they have clearly stated that we'll have to make the process transparent. We'll have to give all the names to the public, and it should be in machine readable format, that which is Very important. The Supreme Court has said that the entire list should be searchable through epic numbers, because earlier the Election Commission had put out a list which was not machine readable. And when they had put out, after 3 days, they changed the list to a non-machine readable format. So Supreme Court has taken cognizance of all the points which the leader of opposition and other leaders from the opposition were taking, and they have given a favorable verdict. And this is why we always say that democracy in this country is supreme. And there are institutions, when the state wants to go rogue, we have the Supreme Court, which can put it in a right place and give the confidence to the voters.
All right, let me in fact take that across to Sumit Peer as well. Sumit Peer, this verdict today, of course, is being interpreted by all political quarters. How do you view this verdict and its implications on the exercise ahead in Bihar?
Uday, thank you very much for having me on your show. Well, sir, to begin with, first of all, it had a couple of things which were validated. SIR is legal, fully doable, and EC is within its right to do it.
Yes.
So fundamental contextion which was brought in, कि भाई ये illegal है, that is gone. Second thing, the process of doing it, what was the second bone of contention, is inclusive, not exclusive. Correct? The time given by EC is quite enough, good enough, no problems. So all the three major points of contention where when the opposition went to the Honorable Supreme Court said, well, it's not done. Yeah, the Honorable Supreme Court said, okay, publish the list. There are people, they can come. You can have the list on the Panchayat state. You can have things on every state. But if you look at the 65 lakh vote, 22 lakhs have deceased, 38 lakhs are around permanent migrants, so left the place, and 7 lakhs are duplicate. I don't know, where do you talk of exclusion and inclusion? When the Honorable Supreme Court is of the opinion, the process is to include, and it is the right and duty of the Election Commission to make sure one person only has one vote. It should not be duplicate votes. Look, when voters get shunted out, all the parties should be happy because they were duplicate, farji or fake voters. Whatever they were, they got shunted out. It is not vote chori, it is the shuddhikaran of the voter list. You have to look at it that way. Whatever anomalies were there, they have been taken out. I don't know why Congress is rattled. I don't know why Rahul Gandhi ji wants to start those yatras and those mashal yatras and this big mega yatra in the Bihar. When everything is docked, and even if you still have a problem, you have the list out, go and raise your claim. Earlier you were saying list available nahi, list aa jayegi. By tomorrow morning it will be out. Go and raise your claim and talk about it. So I don't understand one thing. When you take out 65 lakh votes, why only the opposition has a problem? Usually, logically, if these fake voters, farji voters, whoever they are, if they are taken out due to whatever reason, these are three main reasons which have given you 7 lakh duplicate votes, everybody should be happy because these voters or these votes were taking out the power or minimizing the power of a legitimate voter. So the people of Bihar should be happy. Political parties should be happy. System should be happy. And on the top of that, you see what Mr. Gandhi is trying to do. The Election Commission of India is a constitutional body. You are trying to politicize the power of Election Commission of India. You are trying to put political interference in the working of Election Commission of India. You are trying to discredit the institutions of India, and in the way, you are trying to question the democracy of India. Because if you go on like this, tomorrow you will say, how do we know this 2024 elections was legal? How do we know that all the votes were right? Maybe all the elections were fudged. So by that logic, you are kind of discrediting each and every institutions in India. And when you win Karnataka or a Himachal, then you're perfectly all right with it. Everything goes right. Because Mr. Gandhi has to choose. He has to fight and win elections. You know, this having coffee with so-called alleged dead, which is kind of insulting the people, but it's his call, or running through these yatras, Bharat Jodo Yatra, Bharat Todo Yatra, Bihar Yatra, Mashal Yatra, Motorcycle Yatra. You can do any number of yatras, Mr. Gandhi, but the fundamentals remains that you have to win an election. If you want to be in the power, aapko election to jeetna padega na. You see, semantics, optics, getting media bites, getting coverage, fighting on the debates or panels is okay. But when it comes to somebody casting a vote, he has to find you eligible enough to cast the vote. You can try all these tactics and optics, but the message which is going out to the common masses is that you are questioning Bharat, you are questioning India, you are questioning every institution of India. और वही वाली बात है, मोदी विरोध करते करते भारत का विरोध कब कर बैठते आपको पता ही नहीं लगती. You don't know when you cross the election rekha. That is the common conception or the notion which is going to the voters. What have you got out of going to EC? Except the list is published today, which would have been anyway published. That is not a big deal. Minus that, what was this all hangama and tamasha about? And I want to ask this question on national TV. Is Mr. Rahul Gandhi going to cancel this yatra? There are these night yatras and this yatra across the whole Bihar. Because in my opinion, what Neeraj was rightfully mentioning now, according to what I've heard here, there is no need for it. I think it seems to be settled now. So let's go and concentrate on the election, right? Rather than trying to, don't let a constitutionally appointed body like EC to do their job. You cannot politicize their way of working and functioning. That is what you are trying to do, Mr. Gandhi, which is very unfortunate. That too, when you are a leader of opposition, you are not a small person. You are a leader of opposition, and people look up to you. And your some statements then get quoted in Pakistan, they get quoted in China, they get quoted in the US. And at the end of the day, we as Bharat suffers. You might have a little bit of political gains, but you will keep on losing state after state, election after state, election after election, and you will keep on diminishing the power of Bharat. I think which is not collectively good for 1.4 billion people, 1.45 billion people, which may or may not be your voters. But at the end of the day, everybody is a Bharati and the interest of Bharat is supreme. That is my opinion on it, Uday.
Let me in fact quickly also rope in Nikhil Jain now. Nikhil Jain, politically, who do you see this verdict today as a win for and a loss for? Do you believe it's preliminary to say that just yet? Also the implications ahead for the exercise, Nikhil Jain.
So I certainly see it as a win for democracy, as a win for the principle of every person in India is equal and has a right to vote. And I see it as a loss for every single of those forces who wanted to disenfranchise millions and millions of voters. And let me point out to your viewers that the BJP spokesperson at the very start of the debate let the cat out of the bag. When you asked her, do you see this as a setback for the Election Commission? She answers it as, no, I don't see it as a setback for us. As if the Election Commission of India and the BJP is the same. The opposition has been making that charge time and again, and I think the BJP spokesperson has proven that on your show. She also goes on to say that it is now very well proven.
Don't misquote.
Ma'am, I did not. I wrote it very clearly. I did not say an entire sentence. I did write these 3 words. I have it written. You can see my notes. I can show you my notes. I am not misquoting. Please do the talk. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That being said, the BJP spokesperson also said that this is not a vote chori and all these allegations have been rubbish. Then I would like to ask the BJP spokesperson, what was Mr. Anurag Thakur, a Union Cabinet Minister, saying yesterday? Because he was going around pointing out so many doubtful and dubious voters in constituencies of Kannauj and Rai Bareli and this and that. He was also pointing out the very same things that the opposition was proving. He was actually making the opposition's point that the Election Commission of India is not being able to do a proper job of things. And she also says that the BJP welcomes this decision of the Supreme Court. What about the fact that the BJP was vociferously fighting for Aadhaar not to be included in the Bihar SIR exercise, but the Supreme Court has gone ahead and clearly said that Aadhaar is to be included. And next to Mr. Sumit Peer's point, he said that, everybody was saying that SIR is legal. It was hardly anybody's argument that SIR is illegal. People's argument was that the way and the manner in which it was carried out, the exclusionary manner, that was illegal. And that is what the Supreme Court has now rectified by directing the Election Commission of India to publish the names of the deleted voters, to include Aadhaar into it. It is certainly a setback for the Election Commission. And let me also remind Mr. Peer that the Election Commission in the previous hearing in this matter told the court very clearly, no, we are not going to publish the list of the deleted voters. We don't have any legal mandate to do it. But the Supreme Court said nothing doing. You have to do it. You are a constitutional body. You have a certain role in democracy. And what questions the democracy of India is an election commission that is acting like an unconcerned, non-benevolent dictator. I would not even call them a king. They're acting like a dictator. We are going to lock up our headquarters. We will not allow any press. We will not do any press conference. We will not speak to the opposition. We will not remain accountable to anybody until the Supreme Court had to give them the stick and remind them that this is a democracy. They're a constitutional body and they have certain responsibilities to the people of India. And lastly, in all the 65 lakh names that have been excluded, I want to ask the BJP and the Election Commission, how many of those are the illegal immigrants and the Ghuspetiyas and the Bangladeshis and the Rohingyas? Because that is how this entire furor started. I don't see even a lakh of those people. So why did we do this entire exercise in the month when the entire state is being flooded and we are asking people to submit matriculation certificates in a state where 90% people do not complete matriculation? We are asking them to submit their passports in a state where 98% of the people do not have a passport. The Supreme Court has set things in order and this is a win for democracy. And lastly, he said...
I'll come back to you. Let me get in Jasmine Sandhawalia. Jasmine Sandhawalia wants to respond to you. She says you have misquoted her. Let's allow her to respond.
Had a problem with this because apparently they only seem to be
Jasmine Sandhawalia, you can go ahead now and respond.
Caring about disenfranchisement of millions of voters.
Jasmine Sandhawalia, can you hear me? Please respond if you can.
Yes, I only have one point to say that I, as a citizen of India, as a spokesperson of the BJP, said that we welcome the decision of the Supreme Court. And I also said that it does not, after all, the BJP is a political party which is ruling the center. And I also said that the EC is not under any government. I did say that, and I think, Uday, you will watch out for that, that I said that the election commission does not come under the rule of the regulations of the election. The election commission is an independent body, and I repeat that. So don't
Ma'am, you did say all
misconstrue
of
my
that. No,
sentence.
ma'am, you did say all of that. I agree. You absolutely did say every single thing that you repeated. But you also said that this is not a setback for us.
All right, let me get in Sumit Peer now. Sumit Peer, at the end of the day, of course, do you believe that steps like now allowing Aadhaar card to be a legal document, also steps like, promoting this through various social media and other platforms, informing people whose name has been cut out, if there is for a genuine reason, will help inclusion of genuine names or not?
Well, look, the Honorable Supreme Court.
Or is this defeating the purpose of the exercise in the first place?
The process, the method, the right is with EC, everything is right. 11 documents were to include people, not to exclude people. So vis-a-vis this 65 lakhs, I have given you the breakup where do the number come from. If some of them, well, they are put in the village panchayat, they are published and all. If somebody has an objection, the minimum he can go is with his Aadhaar card and say, look, let's say if I cannot go and say I'm Nikhil Jain. If I'm Nikhil Jain, I must have an Aadhaar card. I have to carry an Aadhaar card of myself, or Nikhil Bhai will call order of his Aadhaar card of himself. I can't be Nikhil Jain, he can't be Sumit Peer. So if I have an objection, if my name is not in the list, I will go with that. Say, ye mera Aadhaar card hai, I'm not in the list, then the things will start from there. So Aadhaar card does not mean you get back into the list. Aadhaar card will tell you, okay, we validate your complaint because we register you, her name is there and there's an Aadhaar to validate your entry. So are you eligible or not? There's a different process altogether. So it's not an Aadhaar card has been taken. So that's a very important confusion which must be set to right. Now, the things are very transparent. Nobody answered my one question. Why did conceptually opposition go to the Supreme Court? They went with all these three main problems. They were all knocked out. Yeah, the list was published earlier. Now it is on a website. That solves the problem. Now, will Rahul Gandhi stop his yatras? That is the question. Will Rahul Gandhi stop going around the Bihar and kind of demonizing the Election Commission of India? Will he stop doing these night 12 o'clock yatras and these big mega yatras in the whole of Bihar? Or he wants his political TRP and his political persona to be more important than the Constitution of India and than the bodies of the India? And nobody answered me why you are okay with the election by the same election commission in Himachal and in Karnataka. Now, another question I want to put the caveat in front of the thing, well before the time. So when are you going to say that the EVMs are not working? And if you still have doubts in the election, then Mr. Gandhi, will you tomorrow come and say, if you win the election, that I will not take this victory because the election was fudged? Or you will only say when you have lost and somebody else has won? These are 3-4 important questions which Congress must clarify and Mr. Gandhi must clarify, because I believe he is a very tall leader and, by doing these things, it might give him some TRP, but overall, he's not doing good to his political image as well, because people can see through it, people can, watch for it. When BJP loses somewhere, it loses with grace. It doesn't go to the part, say EC is, done that, EVMs are corrupted. But why does Congress always start blaming the institutions before even the things have started? Because at the end of the day, you can
Mishra, then to counter you, Neeraj Mishra, Congress spokesperson.
Udayji, I really don't understand why BJP sends 2 spokespersons to news channels. Because what Sumit Peerzada's locus standi in questioning the intent of the opposition is, I really don't understand. But though being a responsible
No, he's speaking as a neutral commentator. You can disagree with him though.
There was no neutrality. The audience is listening to what he's saying. He has only questions for the opposition. He has no questions or no suggestions for the party in power. So keeping that aside, Mr. Gandhi, who's setting out on this yatra from the 17th, it is going to be a 16-day yatra of around 1,300 kilometers, where he's traversing all through the length and breadth of Bihar. And the primary agenda is that if you are one of those 65 lakh people who the election commission is saying that you are ineligible to vote, and if you have all the legal documents and you can make that claim of your vote, you come out, you tell the election commission that we are here. Last evening when that video came out, people like Sumit and all the other people in the ecosystem of BJP, they did not have any answer to how people who have been left out of the list, citing the reason that they have been deceased, they were having a cup of coffee with Mr. Gandhi. This was because that, look, in entirety, a lot of independent journalists and responsible newsrooms like Newsx have done this coverage, that most of the forms which were to be attested, to be signed by the people who were eligible voters, did not even reach them. The BLOs.
All right, we've run totally out of time, I'm afraid. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. Let's slip into a short break.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त, मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
Three-judge bench of Justices Vikram Nath, Sandeep Mehta and N.V. Anjaria have reserved their order in the Stray Dogs Supreme Court case. The hearing followed widespread protests against the top court's order directing the blanket removal of Delhi stray dogs from all NCR localities. The bench asked why authorities in several areas started picking up the animals even before the earlier order became public. The Supreme Court also came down heavily on the authorities for not implementing guidelines for animal control, leading to this situation. The hearing saw a highly charged debate as senior advocate Kapil Sibal argued that the August 11th order should be stayed, warning that forcing all dogs into shelters could lead to cruelty, culling and public health risks. Meanwhile, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said that more than 37 lakh dog bites are reported in India annually and highlighted the public safety concerns driving the Supreme Court order on stray dogs, arguing that the order to shift all stray dogs in Delhi NCR cannot be implemented. Sibal said this order does not apply because there are no shelter homes. The order said stray dogs must not be released. This too does not apply because there are no shelter homes. The order to pick up stray dogs must also be stayed. Where will they be taken, quote unquote? Well, senior advocate Abhishek Singhvi, meanwhile appearing for one of the petitioners, said all directions in the August 11th order put cart before the horse. Justice Nath came down heavily on civic authorities and said that Parliament frames rules and laws, but they are not implemented. Anupam Tripathi, animal rights activist, is joining us live. Dr. Anil Singh, owner of Creative Veterinary Hospital, Ghaziabad, is with us. Dr. Avnish Narayan Mathur, animal rights activist, joins us live. Kamna Pandey, co-opted member, AWBI, is also with us on the broadcast. Thank you all for being with us today on Newsx. Let me make a start with you first. Anupam Tripathi, how do you react to this, this hearing today in this case? The order, of course, has been reserved, but some of the observations, of course, give us an idea of what that final order could be in this matter.
Well, you see, the initial, when the orders of the Supreme Court came, I'm talking about 3 days back, they were very unfortunate. And it just doesn't make sense. You cannot pick up 3 lakh dogs from the streets of Delhi and put them in a pound. It requires infrastructure, it would require feeding cost, and it's just not possible. It hasn't been possible for all this while. Wherever they have tried it in various other countries, they have failed. So this is, this was just a very bad order and a bad solution to an existing problem, which obviously needed a challenge. And I'm happy with whatever that's happening now with Kapil Sibal and Abhishek Manu Singhvi and everybody challenging this. And I'm hoping that, better sense, common sense will prevail. And people who actually understand how, what this situation is to do with dogs how they would be able to provide better solutions to the court.
Dr. Anil Singh, let me also draw you in here. Dr. Anil Singh, what do you believe could be a middle ground? Because that is something, of course, that the Apex Court is hoping for. What do you believe could be a middle ground in this matter?
Sorry, आवाज clear नहीं है sir.
Dr. Anil Singh, मैं कह रहा हूँ बीच का रास्ता क्या हो सकता है? What can be a middle ground in this case? That is what the that is what these petitioners who asked for a review are hoping for.
बीच का रास्ता सर ये सबसे ये जो रास्ता है जो है गवर्नमेंट को कहना है इस चीज के लिए अवेयरनेस और ये सारी चीजें कराना चाहिए और सबसे ज्यादा ये है कि सर एकदम से अगर ये गवर्नमेंट ये कहती है कि भाई हम सभी डॉग्स को एक साथ में जाके यहाँ पे ऐसे शेल्टर्स में रखते हैं, गवर्नमेंट्स के पास एक भी शेल्टर तो है नहीं अभी ऐसा जैसा सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो फैसला किया वो तो मैं तो नहीं मानता उस चीज में कि भाई उसके फेवर में है ना एज ए डॉक्टर, क्योंकि सर बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं क्योंकि बहुत सारे डॉग्स होते हैं जो सिक एनिमल्स भी होते हैं हेल्दी होते हैं, तो एकदम से आप शेल्टर आपके पास व्यवस्था है नहीं तो उस चीज पे पहले एक छोटे छोटे लेवल्स पे एबीसी का प्रोग्राम स्टार्ट किया जाए गवर्नमेंट्स की तरफ से, जैसे स्टरलाइजेशन हो पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल होगी, देन फिर उसके बाद आप एक गवर्नमेंट एक ऐसा सेंटर प्रोवाइड करे जिसमें हेल्दी एनिमल्स को अलग से, एक्सीडेंटल केसेस भी होते हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, तो एकदम से नहीं हो पाएगा सर, है ना
जी. Dr. Avnish Narayan Mathur is also with us now. Dr. Avnish Narayan Mathur, the Supreme Court hearing today, how do you view the observations and the arguments which were put forth by all sides in this order, of course, in this hearing, today? The order has been reserved. We await that. But how do you view the hearing panning out today?
Well, the Supreme Court order that came on 11th of August, it was very atrocious in nature and it dealt like a lightning bolt to all the animal lovers in the country. We were not expecting this from the highest court of a country. See, it's not only about animals, it's also about the sentiments of millions of animal lovers in India. You cannot just, neglect all of them. And I have been running an animal shelter myself for the last 4 years. And I can confidently say this thing, the government doesn't have the experience, number one. Number two, they don't have the resources to operate an animal shelter successfully. There are various set of challenges to run an animal shelter. The government doesn't have any of them. So if, let's suppose, if they start picking up dogs and create some kind of structures overnight and start thrashing them in the overnight shelters, it will ultimately lead to countless deaths of these animals. I can guarantee you this thing. It will lead to animal cruelty. It will lead to deaths. So this judgment of Supreme Court is not acceptable to me, and I would certainly say this thing. This needs to be looked on, and very rightly quoted by Advocate Singhvi today, that the government is just, the court is just putting the cart before the horse. They are not doing the things in the right manner. First, you should build animal shelters first, let them operate, and then you will see what are the challenges of running an animal shelter. You are just running some sterilization ABC units, in which you have failed miserably. So this is my take on it. I do not support it, and if that happens, it will be a black day in the history of India.
Bring in Kamna Pandey at this point. Kamna Pandey, the Apex Court, of course, has been hearing these pleas very, very patiently. The CJI had said he would relook at this case, which is why this new bench, of course, was formed by him. The hearing today has panned out for quite a while. How do you view the observations made today by both sides?
There were very few observations. One that stands out is that the Honorable Judge was shocked to know that even before the order was out, the order was uploaded, 700 dogs had already been rounded up. My fellow panelists have already told, there are no shelters, no pounds, no places where they could have been taken to. I do not know what has happened to them. So Today, there's very little that the judge has said. More was said by the two councils that were representing the the two sides. What I can say, the earlier order, for which this commission is reviewing, that Supreme Court's order to remove all street dogs from Delhi and NCR in just 8 weeks, it is not just a logistical impossibility, it is an environmental, legal, moral disaster. We have forgotten the lessons that we have learned from history. History has taught us some lessons. 1994 Surat plague. It happened because overnight the dogs were killed over there. Dogs were removed from the streets. The rat population exploded, resulted in plague. In 1880 in Paris, dogs were removed. Same thing happened over there. The rat population multiplied in such disastrous numbers that they flooded the roads, the houses, and they eventually had to bring back the dogs. That is just one side of ecological impact of removing one of the factors of which the ecological balance has achieved with those factors in the equation. When one scavenger is removed from the streets, another scavenger will take its place. Are we more comfortable with an exploded population of monkeys and then go ahead and exterminate the monkeys also? The dogs keep the wildlife inside the jungles because they protect their territory. Otherwise, कोई दीवार तो नहीं होती है ना जंगल की, यहाँ पे दीवार बनी हुई है और यहाँ से शहर शुरू होता है. There are no boundaries. The wild animals stay inside the jungles because of these dogs. Are we more comfortable with the snakes, the leopards, the wild boars, the nilgais roaming in our streets? We are more comfortable with that? Have we evaluated the environmental impact of removing all the dogs from the streets? I don't think so. Apart from this, there is an example that I would want to give. Mao Zedong in China, he had ordered extermination of all sparrows because he thought that they are destroying the crops and it'll increase the yield. What happened was something that he never thought of. The locust population exploded and the worst famine resulted in China, and they had to buy and import those very sparrows from Russia. These are the few lessons that we need to understand, that there is an impact, there is a role every animal, every being has to play. That is how the ecology developed. There are certain nations where dogs are not there, their ecology developed with the dogs not being in the equation. Here it has developed with the dogs, which is why it is important that we implement ABC. With ABC, the dog population will slowly phase out.
Right.
And the ecology will revise itself.
That is the big question, of course, at what the possible middle grounds could be, Dr. Avnish Narayan Mathur. You know, at the end of the day, there needs to be a solution because dog bite cases have been increasing in, urban cities. So there needs to be some sort of middle ground or some sort of solution. What could that be, Dr. Mathur?
Well, the best possible solution would be first, an effective ABC program across the country. For the last many decades, the government and the municipalities have failed to do this thing. So the very first thing, just like the Supreme Court wants the dogs to be, a blanket removal of dogs overnight in just 8 weeks. If they think that this can happen in just 8 weeks, why not? Why cannot the sterilization program? So the first thing is sterilization program to control the population. Second thing, their vaccinations. So because we are also an animal welfare organization, we have done the vaccination drives for anti-rabies many times, and it has created a very very good difference on the ground. So we can see the city in which we are living, we do not hardly get any cases of rabies. And in today's hearing also, the advocates also quoted the government figures that since 2020 till 2025, these are the official figures of the government, that there have been 0 rabies deaths. So whatever figures were quoted before the bunch earlier, those were not correct. And also I can also say this thing, that if anti-rabies program is implemented implemented by the government, then the future in future also, the rabies number of cases of rabies that are being reported, that it will drastically go down. The whole country and each and every district of the country can be rabies free. So these, according to me, these two, but it should be done in a humane manner, not like this. A blanket execution of all the animals is not the solution that we advocate for. It should be done in a very humane manner, sterilization and vaccinations.
Anupam Tripathi, according to you, what could that middle ground be? What would be your appeal to the bench, before they pronounce their final order?
Yeah, can you repeat your question again? Because
middle ground in the matter. What would be the middle ground in the matter?
Repeat your question again, please.
Anupam, can you hear me? I don't think he can hear me. Okay, Anil Singh, let me quickly draw you in here. Dr. Anil Singh, सवाल ये भी है कि अब तक सरकारों ने भी क्यों, राज्य सरकारों ने भी क्यों कड़े कदम नहीं उठाए हैं? क्यों हमेशा उच्च न्यायालय पे बात आती है तभी जाके कदम अपनाए जाते हैं, सुझाव लाए जाते हैं सामने? राज्य सरकारों ने भी क्या इस मसले को हल करने के लिए कुछ किया क्यों नहीं, और क्या किया है या नहीं किया आपके नजरिए? डॉक्टर अनिल सवाल आपके लिए है।
हाँ, हेलो, हाँ जी सर।
कामना पांडे, कैन यू, इफ यू कैन हियर मी प्लीज गो अहेड।
जी आवाज आ रही है।
यस कामना, गो अहेड।
ओके, सो व्हाट आई वांट टू से कि जो राज्य सरकारों की आप बात करें या सेंट्रल सरकारों की आप बात करें, यहाँ पर जो कुछ भी आपको दिख रहा है ये फेलियर सरकार का है। आप 2001 में यू गॉट द एबीसी रूल्स, आपने 24 साल में क्या किया? आप वैक्सीनेशन नहीं करते हैं, आप स्टरलाइजेशन नहीं करते हैं, आप अवेयरनेस नहीं करते हैं। लेट मी प्लीज रिपीट वन पॉइंट व्हिच आई हैड सेड अर्लियर आल्सो, दैट रेबीज से कोई इंसान इसलिए नहीं मरता है क्योंकि उसे कुत्ते ने काट लिया है। रेबीज से इंसान इसलिए मरता है क्योंकि उसने वैक्सीनेशन के इंजेक्शंस नहीं लिए हैं। जस्ट लाइक टेटनस, आपको टेटनस का अगर खरोंच भी लग जाएगा जंग के लोहे से, यू आर गोइंग टू डाई अनलेस यू टेक टेटनस का इंजेक्शन। तो इट इज एज सिंपल एज दैट। गवर्नमेंट हैज फेल्ड ऑन सो मेनी काउंट्स। अवेयरनेस नहीं फैला पाई है, वो नहीं बता पाई है अपने सिटीजन्स को कि आपको 5 इंजेक्शंस का कोर्स लेना है। दैट इज मैंडेटरी इफ यू वांट टू सर्वाइव। इफ इन केस द डॉग हु हैज बिटन यू और द कैट और काउ, एनीथिंग दैट हैज बिटन यू हैपेंस टू बी रैबिट, सो ये तो फेलियर गवर्नमेंट का ही है। I would say the sterilization programs in whichever cities you were asking for solution के लिए हमें किधर और देखने की जरूरत नहीं है। हमारे अपने देश में there are so many cities that have implemented sterilization program very well. We have to see our neighbor Bhutan, 100% rabies free. It learned from us and it implemented it in much better fashion. And today it has 100% sterilized dog population, community dog population. So it is very unfortunate the government failed, put the blame on the dog. You have also failed to implement the Prevention of Cruelty on Animals Act. You have failed in stopping the daily continuous cruelty on dogs. These are two things. One is sterilization, which controls the population. The second is cruelty. Dogs react to cruelty. They never attack unprovoked. You do not stop the cruelty, the dog is going to react one day. 1,000,000 times you kick him, one time he will turn around and bite you. If there are biting dogs, then just imagine, एक केस आप सुनते हो कि फला शहर में, फला गली में, फला मोहल्ले में एक कुत्ते ने काट लिया. That dog has not been imported from somewhere. He has lived his life and grown up to get to whatever age he has gotten, and और कोई bite तो नहीं हुई ना. Someday he has reacted. Something must have happened. मे बी समटाइम्स जिसको जो विक्टिम होता है उसने नहीं किया हो. Sometimes you pull the tail of a dog and the person right next to its mouth, he gets bitten. Pet dogs have a different temperament. Community dogs never bite. Pet dogs can be aggressive or they can be friendly. Community dogs are always friendly unless they are threatened for their own existence, unless they are threatened for their own survival. When there is perpetual, sustained, continuous human hostility on them, their body language changes. All these panelists who are sitting with me,
Right.
I can vouch that when they go
Okay.
and they see a dog, they can tell that there is human cruelty happening
Okay,
over
point
here.
taken. We'll have to leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. I think we're having some audio issues with our other guests as well.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल. ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का. ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है. इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर. ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त, मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी.
Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on Newsx. The stage is set for one of the most important meetings of the 21st century. 1,267 days after Russia went to war with Ukraine, a United States president will be meeting with the Russian president with the hope of ending the war. The meeting is scheduled in Anchorage in Alaska at 1 a.m. India time on Friday. Before the meeting, the US president has warned Russian President Putin of severe consequences if Putin continues the Ukraine war after the summit. Putin, on the other hand, has acknowledged Trump's efforts as being genuine. Zelensky has warned Trump before the meeting that Putin definitely does not want peace. India has welcomed the summit, reiterating its stance that this is not an era of war. Trump's Treasury Secretary has also warned India of secondary tariffs over Russian oil if the summit fails. The stakes are high as the two leaders will be face to face. Whether peace is in sight is the only question that the world wants answers for. Joining us live at this point is Andrew Latham, Professor of International Relations. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor Latham, welcome. Thank you for being with us today on Newsx. How do you react to this meeting that has finally been fixed for the 15th of August in Alaska? What are the anticipations there in the U.S. for this meeting?
Well, I think some people have exaggerated expectations because there are some irreconcilable differences at play on this particular playing field, and it's going to be hard for Presidents Putin and Trump to overcome those irreconcilable differences. The areas where they agree are that both Russia and the U.S. want a deal with each other. They want to enhance their relations. Russia wants out from under the sanctions. The United States wants to court Russia and draw it away from China in many respects. And so there's some prospect for progress there, I suppose. But Ukraine and the war in Ukraine is the sticking point. Trump has invested too much political capital in bringing that to an end. He needs to see that war end, and I don't think he cares on what terms. President Putin wants to see the war end, but on his terms, and his terms involve perpetual occupation and incorporation of the Donbass region into the Russian Federation. Here's the fly in the ointment, as it were. That deal could be done probably between those two great powers, but the European allies are backing Ukraine's demand for a seat at the table. No deal, says President Zelensky, unless Ukraine is part of the negotiation that yields that deal. And there's a prospect for a follow-on summit in which that might happen. But at this particular summit, Trump is only paying attention to Zelensky because Prime Minister Starmer and Chancellor Merz and other important European players are putting a lot of pressure on him, which is further complicating these negotiations in Alaska. So, bottom line is, I'm not terribly hopeful, although I think the theatrics might be interesting.
Absolutely. Let me, in fact, quickly take that across to Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat as well. Ambassador Mukherjee, as far as, of course, this meeting is concerned, a lot is riding, of course, on this meeting between Trump and Putin. They have spoken, a few times since Donald Trump has become president of the United States again, but meeting face to face, on US soil, what are your expectations?
Well, first of all, Uday, I would like to clarify that why should the Trump's Treasury Secretary threaten India with more sanctions if this meeting does not take place as expected? Why doesn't he threaten China with more sanctions? He is threatening India because he thinks that India is weaker than China. That is completely unacceptable to a sovereign country. That's the first point I want to make. Secondly, there is a long history of the then USSR, now Russian Federation, and United States carving up the world as they wish to. It happened in Yalta, for example. It's not the first time that such thing would have happened. In this particular case, again, history has proven that history is never kind to defeated powers. And unfortunately, President Zelensky has lost the war. Under those circumstances, a deal could be possible if both sides agree to freeze where they are, which means Russia too would have to give up a small percentage of its territory to Ukraine, and that would be difficult for President Putin to accept, but he could be pressured to accept it. After that comes what? It was Henry Kissinger who famously said that no peace agreement should be fully satisfactory to both sides or so dissatisfactory that one side wants to break the deal. That is the way he explained the difference between Congress of Vienna and Treaty of Versailles in 1919. I think that an unsatisfactory peace deal which both sides can accept, that is to say Putin and Zelensky, which would be for which President Trump would take the credit, and for which President Putin would nominate President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, would actually be the tipping point in this case. All that President Putin has to do is to say, I accept a stalemate, like the way it was in Korea, and in return, Russia will nominate President Putin for the Nobel Peace Prize. That will come as a huge relief to India, because I don't understand how we have been dragged in for purchase of Russian oil, while the Chinese have got 90 days. That shows actually, Uday, to sobering thought, that the American president thinks we are a weak power, and so he deals with us like a bully, while he is very careful with China because it's a stronger power. We should remember that domestically and make ourselves a much stronger power so that bullies don't try and come and bully India. That is not acceptable to India, but clearly President Putin doesn't know Indian history. Under those circumstances, I am reasonably confident that there will be a breakthrough. It may not be satisfactory to Zelensky. It may not be satisfactory to the EU, but let's not forget, the EU and Japan have already caved in to President Trump's tariff threats. The EU today is not in a situation where they can put any pressure on the United States, and therefore ultimately they will cave in, just the way they did at Yalta. So I would say that if Putin plays his cards right, he's got a deal, President Trump has got a deal, and President Trump gets the Nobel Peace Prize, and all of us in India can breathe in peace. Uday.
Yes, Major General Shashi Asthana, former DG Infantry, also is with us live now on the broadcast. Major General Asthana, this much-awaited meeting between Putin and Trump, of course, scheduled for the 15th of August in Alaska. It certainly is a big day in India, as 15th of August is Independence Day, but it's turned out to be a big day for the US and Russia too. What are your expectations for this meeting?
See, I don't visualize very much of expectations for the simple reason, because the positions before the meeting are wide apart. We see that Russia is on a stronger wicket. They have an edge as far as this meeting is concerned from all angles. Firstly, the entire NATO wanted Putin to be a pariah, but it has not happened. The fact that he is now sitting with President Trump and has been attending so many meetings all over the world, and so many leaders have visited him, indicates that that has not happened. His isolation has not happened. He physically holds 20% of Ukraine is a stated fact. And it is also a stated fact that whatever one may do, NATO cannot get that territory back. That is also quite clear, at least by war. So that is one part of it. The second issue is, as far as Putin is concerned, with these conditions, his point of view is that his security concerns must be looked into, and his security concerns haven't changed right from the beginning of the war till date. So I don't think he's going to budge on those security concerns by any stretch of imagination. Now coming on to USA. USA certainly wants to have good relations with Russia for many reasons. They also don't want to get sucked into this war because their Indo-Pacific strategy is faltering. Because too much into this means that they have given China a free hand, and thereafter they are no match to China as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned. That's a writing on the wall. So they have to now decide whether they are into this war or they can somehow give some kind of big power contestation to China elsewhere. That's a major decision which they have to take. Now, rhetorics apart, President Trump may say that, okay,